Chapter 660. In the void between the mountain world and the earth god world, a barren continent floated in the air. This was the void battlefield where the two realms fought. There were countless temporary cultivation cities built on it. The entire continent was covered by a formation, isolating it from the void storm. Both realms had dispatched hundreds of thousands of cultivators above the nascent soul stage, and they had been fighting here for several years. This battle would last for at least a few years, and at most a few decades. There were 15 void fragmentation realm experts in the cultivation city of the mountain realm. On the side of the earth immortal world, there were 21 void fragmentation realm experts guarding the battlefield in the void. The two sides did not fight to the death. Most of the time, it was a large-scale battle between low-level cultivators. There were very few battles between void fragmentation realm experts. After all, every single one of them was an old monster who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. He wasn't willing to take the risk unless it was absolutely necessary. Zhao Banji left the battlefield and hasn't returned yet? Where did he go? In a cultivation city in the mountain realm, a bald old man frowned with displeasure. This bald old man was one of the 4-7 shatter old monsters of the mountain world, and he was the ancestor of the West Mountain Hall. He had always admired Zhao Banji and had tried to recruit him into the West Mountain Hall. For this realm war, he had specially invited Zhao Banji to assist him. Who would have thought that Zhao Banji would leave the battlefield without permission? Reporting to Old Ancestor, Senior Zhao went to the Rain World. It is said that before he went to the Rain World, he also invited a few close friends, saying that he wanted to go to the Rain World to ask for some benefits. A divine transformation realm cultivator replied respectfully. Going to the Rain World to seek benefits? To Zhao Banji? Old Ancestor West Mountain laughed and shook his head. Since Zhao Banji was only going to extort money from the Rain Palace, he would return to the battlefield sooner or later. As long as he would come back, that was enough. The Rain World just lost the Rain Emperor, and there are 2 new Divine Emperors, but their cultivation levels are so low that they are not worth mentioning. The Rain World was destined to decline. Zhao Banji's trip to the Rain Immortal World will surely be fruitful. Old Ancestor Shishan was smiling when his face suddenly stiffened. Then, he revealed an extremely shocked expression. Patting his storage pouch, he took out a fate token that had been broken in half. His eyes gradually darkened. Zhao Banji died in the Rain World. How is this possible? It's just a mere Rain World. When the low-grade cultivators below heard that Zhao Banji was dead, they revealed expressions of extreme shock. They all knew that Zhao Banji's strength was comparable to the current 4 emperors of the mountain realm, and he was almost no weaker than the previous Rain Emperor, Yunzong Xian. It was said that the Rain World had just lost a Divine Emperor and their only 5 Shatterer Realm cultivator. How could such a ruthless character like Zhao Banji die in the Rain World? Rain World, Mountain of Rain World, World of World God. I want to know how Zhao Banji died. Old Ancestor Shishan's eyes were extremely gloomy. World Ancestor and World God. Dragon. A of World Ancestor. A World Sect. World of Emperor of World. Dragon. In Zhao Banji's group, there were 3 5th Shatter Realm experts, 1 4th Shatter Realm expert, and 1 3rd Shatter Realm expert. Almost all of them had died in the hands of the Rain Sovereign Ning Fan. In this battle, Ning Fan used a Purple Eye Peacock which had a cultivation base of Realm 6 Dragon Fan. Purple Eye Peacock. Purple Eye Peacock. Isn't it very similar to the ferocious beast that destroyed the Vine Palace of the Tree World? I remember that the ferocious beast was called Nyeli. However, it seemed to be a Realm 5 Dragon Realm cultivator. Could it be that the infamous Northern Tree Sovereign Liu Bei is the Rain Sovereign Ning Fan? It's not impossible. What I didn't expect the most is that the Rain World actually has a mysterious Realm 7 Dragon Fan. A Realm 7 Dragon Fan, a Realm 6 Dragon Fan, a Realm 5 Dragon Fan, and a Realm 7 Dragon Fan who could kill a Realm 5 Dragon Fan. There are quite a lot of experts above the Realm 5 Dragon Fan. Old Ancestor Shishan frowned deeply. Initially, he wanted to leave the battlefield and go to the Rain World to avenge Zhao Banji. Now that he knew that there was a Realm 7 Dragon Fan in the Rain World, Even he would not dare to sneak into the Rain World and attack the Rain Palace. I didn't expect the Rain World to become so powerful after Yun Zhongshuan's death. I can't simply sneak into the Rain World anymore. Ningfan? He's quite a character. He's even stronger than Yun Zhongshuan. Old Ancestor Shishan's eyes turned gloomy. In the end, he no longer mentioned anything about Zhao Banji's death. Tree World, Eastern Tree Sea, Bamboo Palace. The Bamboo Sovereign looked at the jade slip in his hand with a complicated expression. Liu Bei's true identity is most likely the divine sovereign of the Rain World, Ningfan. I didn't expect such a heaven-shaking figure to appear in the Rain World. What's even more unexpected is that there's actually a Realm 7 Dragon fan in the Rain World right now. Looks like it's my Tree World's turn to wear the title of being the weakest in the 9 worlds. Southern Tree Sea, Lu Palace. Lu Haoyue looked at the information in his hand in silence. After a long time, he suddenly burst into laughter. His eyes were filled with admiration. Brother Ning killed 5 Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the Mountain World alone, including 3 Realm 5 Dragon fan. I'm no match for him. With him around, the Rain World will most likely rise in this generation. Heaven Immortal World, 3 World Sect. After the death of the previous sect master, the 3 World Sect elected a new sect master after a series of battles. The new sect master was the only Realm 7 Dragon fan in the sect. His name was Gu Dao. At this moment, he was holding a piece of information with a gloomy expression. It seems like the Rain Sovereign Ningfan is most likely Liu Bei who caused chaos in the Tree World. Liu Bei. According to the divination of the Heaven Mending Sect, the old sect master died in Liu Bei's hands. He is Liu Bei. On the surface, there's already a Realm 7 Dragon fan in the Rain World. There might be an even stronger old monster in the dark. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to harm the old sect master. We can only put aside the revenge of the old sect master for the time being. Send people to keep a close eye on the Rain World. If Ningfan leaves the Rain World and sneaks into other worlds, I'll personally take action and kill him. Devil World, Nirvana Palace. The young Moksha Sovereign was sitting on the throne. He was holding a piece of information in his hand with a gloomy expression. Behind the young Moksha Sovereign stood an elderly Moksha Sovereign. His eyes were equally cold. The middle-aged Moksha Sovereign had already died in Ningfan's hands. This was Moksha Sovereign's body with 3 bodies. Damn it. This kid has already matured. I can't go to the Rain World so easily anymore. Han Yuanji really treats this disciple very well. He has only cultivated for 60 years and his bone age is 1,000 years old, but he has already broken through to the 2nd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. It's obvious that Han Yuanji has given the foundation of the Black Evil sect to this kid for his breakthrough. Ningfan? You'd better not fall into my hands. The young Moksha Sovereign crushed the jade slip in his hand. His eyes were filled with killing intent. In an icy sword city in the Sword World. The old monster looked at the information in his hand in disbelief. It was too unbelievable. Brat Ningfan has broken 2 of his jade slip. Moreover, he fought against 5 of them alone and killed 3 of them. One of them was at the 4th heavenly layer and the last one was at the 3rd heavenly layer. How many years has it been? The ancient heavenly court will only open in another 40 years. He actually broke through to the Void Fragmentation Realm in such a short time. What a monster! He's worthy of being my disciple. He's indeed different from ordinary people. The old monster looked at the 2 people beside him proudly. One of them was a lady with black hair that flowed like a waterfall and white robes. The other person was an old man in gray robes. His face was pale and his hair was white. His pupils were golden in color. The lady's cultivation base was close to the Void Refinement Realm. She had a peerless beauty with a plum blossom on her temple. Her eyes were like orchids in an empty valley and her temperament was as cold as a sword. Her cold eyes rippled when she heard Ningfan's news. She raised her palm and looked at the indistinct one-heart sword seal on the back of her hand. Little Devil Ning has already reached the Void Fragmentation Realm. The old man's aptitude is monstrous and the young one's aptitude is even more monstrous. They're indeed master and disciple. She was little Dugu who had formed the one-heart sword seal with Ning Fan. The old monster's smile became even more proud after hearing little Dugu's words. Suddenly, he thought of something and smiled wretchedly. He then said to the other person beside him, "Old Xia, can you do me a favor?" "A favor? I'm just a nodding acquaintance with you. The reason why I'm protecting you in the sword world is because of the divine cultivation method you have. I've said before that I will only protect you from death for 100 years. I won't help you with anything." "Hey, don't say that. It's just a small favor. To you, it's just a matter of running around. I want you to help me deliver a letter." "Deliver a letter? To?" The golden-eyed old man was startled. "To my disciple, Rain Sovereign Ning Fan. To you, going from the sword world to the rain world only takes the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Are you really not going to help me with such a small favor? I have a deep friendship with you. I won't help you for nothing. This time, what price do you have to pay in exchange for my help?" The golden-eyed old man's tone was indifferent. I've never seen someone as stingy as you in my life. Take it." The old monster took out a jade slip and imprinted something on it. The golden-eyed old man took the jade slip and glanced at it. His indifferent face immediately showed a hint of surprise. "This reward is sufficient. Fine, I'll make a trip to the sword dimension on your behalf. I haven't been there for many years. When I went there in the past, I met a junior. He seemed to be called Zhou Chen. His sword intent was quite unique. Where's the letter?" "Here." The old monster took out a black jade slip and imprinted some words on it. Then he passed the jade slip to the golden-eyed old man. The golden-eyed old man took the black jade slip. Without saying anything, he raised his hand and drew a line in front of him. A world passage to cross worlds appeared. His chi was vaguely that of a loose immortal. There didn't seem to be any loose immortals in the sword world of the 3 lower realms. He took a step forward and his body turned into a golden sword light. In a flash, he had already gone far away. His speed was far faster than a loose immortal or even a life immortal. It was comparable to a true immortal. He was clearly a loose immortal, but his speed was comparable to a true immortal. "Old man Han, who is this senior? Is he really a cultivator of the sword world? I've never heard of his name." Little Dugu's beautiful eyes were filled with doubt. "Old man Xia is indeed a cultivator of the sword world. It's very normal that you haven't heard of him. I've just started cultivating, but his cultivation base was already exceedingly high. When I broke through to the true crossing realm, I was only on par with him. He's a loose immortal, but I'm afraid there's no loose immortal who's more powerful than him in this world. Don't tell anyone about him, not even your father." "I'm too lazy to tell. I already know about little devil Ning. I'm leaving. Seeing you annoys me. You better think of a way to save my sister quickly." Little Dugu took a step forward and turned into a sword light, disappearing without a trace. When he was alone, the old monster's face gradually revealed a hint of desolation. The Tao Earth will only be unsealed after a few decades. Although little Ning has broken through to the void fragmentation realm, he still can't plant the yin-yang Tao fruit. Little Mei, I still have to wait for a few decades to plant the Tao seed. I still have to wait for a few hundred years to harvest the Tao fruit and save you. Will you wait for me? Rain World. A few days had passed since Ning Fan killed Zhao Banji and his group. There were only a total of 100,000 Tao crystals in their storage pouches. Ning Fan was not interested in the other things. After that, Ning Fan summoned Li Long, who was far away in the middle state, and ordered him to stay in 7 Apricot City. He also asked Li Long to slightly reveal his 7 shattering realm in front of countless cultivators. He had to intimidate all the worlds to maintain the stability of the Rain World and the safety of 7 Apricot City. He held several pieces of information in his hands. Some of them were about the 3 worlds sect, the Mountain World, the Devil World, and other worlds. When the news of 7 shattering realm guarding the Rain World spread, the 3 worlds sect and the Mountain World no longer made any moves, as if they had temporarily given up on their hostility towards him. The devil world also remained silent. That was how it seemed on the surface, but Ning Fan had no idea what the truth was. He still asked Li Long to stay in 7 Apricot City. If Ning Fan was not in the rain world, as long as Li Long was here, 7 Apricot City would be safe unless Sui Ba came personally. 7 Apricot City still had Mu Luo. If Mu Luo ignited his demon soul, he could display the power of a loose demon for a certain period of time. Even if a loose immortal came, he would not be able to do anything to him. After that, his demon soul would be burnt and he would die. This kind of situation was not what Ning Fan wanted to see. I am already at the 2nd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. This cultivation level is enough for me to protect myself. However, it is not enough to protect everyone behind me. If I have a 5th heavenly layer cultivation level, I don't need to be afraid even if I have a 6th heavenly layer cultivation level. If I have a 6th heavenly layer cultivation level, with my abilities, it is enough to sweep across the 3 middle realms. As long as I am here, in 7 Apricot City, the wind and snow were silent. Ning Fan stood in the Sea Fan Palace, stepping on the thick layer of snow. He looked at the winter plum blossoms that were blooming at night in silence. All of a sudden, his eyes revealed an extremely shocked expression. He turned around and looked behind him. Unknowingly, an elderly man in gray robes with golden pupils had appeared behind him. This elderly man had a loose immortal cultivation level. However, the pressure that he gave Ning Fan was far greater than anyone else in the 9 worlds. He had once felt this kind of pressure from the realm beast. The realm beast was an expert at the Dujin realm. Who was this elderly man? He was actually stronger than the realm beast. Why would there be such an expert in the 9 worlds? Little friend, you don't need to be nervous. This old man has no evil intentions in coming here. I am here to deliver a letter to you on behalf of your master. The golden-eyed elderly man pointed his finger. A ray of black light flew towards Ning Fan out of nowhere and turned into a black jade slip. Is this person here to deliver a letter on behalf of my master? Ning Fan's heart slightly relaxed, but he still didn't let down his guard. He raised his hand to catch the black jade slip. After checking that there was no mistake, he scanned the contents with his spirit sense. It was indeed a letter from the old monster. Spirit sense couldn't be faked. Moreover, the old monster mentioned in the letter that the golden-eyed sword cultivator in front of him was one of his own. His surname was Xia and he was an old senior. Ning Fan didn't need to be courteous with him. How can I not be courteous? Ning Fan smiled bitterly. From the old monster's tone, he could vaguely tell that this golden-eyed elderly man wasn't a good friend of the old monster. If it was Wei Xian, the old monster's brother, Ning Fan might be thick-skinned enough to ask for some benefits. If it was this golden-eyed elderly man, Ning Fan wouldn't do such a stupid thing. It would only make others look down on him. The main purpose of this letter from the old devil was actually something else. In the past, the old monster took Ning Fan as his disciple because he wanted to plant the Dao fruit using Ning Fan's yin and yang power to save his wife. Although the relationship between him and Ning Fan gradually deepened, he didn't forget his original intention. The old monster told Ning Fan about his original intention of taking him as his disciple without hiding anything. He also told Ning Fan that the Dao soil where the Dao fruit was planted would need another 10 years to be unsealed. That was why Ning Fan didn't have to rush to the Sword World. Instead, he should make preparations for the trip to the ancient heavenly court and seek for a great fortune. There's no need to rush to the Sword World. Ning Fan kept the jade slip in silence and cupped his fists at the golden-eyed elderly man. Thank you for sending this letter, senior. You're welcome. This old man has received some benefits from your master. It's only natural for me to contribute some effort. I also know that your master didn't give me such a great benefit just to send a letter. Most likely, he wants me to bestow you some fortune. The golden-eyed elderly man suddenly reached out his hand and grabbed Ning Fan's storage pouch. All of a sudden, a ray of golden sword light flew out from Ning Fan's storage pouch and went into the golden-eyed elderly man's hand. That sword was none other than the Emperor Xia's sword that Ning Fan obtained from the tree world. It's been many years since we last met. I didn't expect to see this sword again. That year, I was still traveling in the tree world. This sword accidentally hurt a righteous man. It's inauspicious and I abandoned it in the deep valley. I didn't expect this sword to be in your hands. It seems like we're fated to meet. The golden-eyed elderly man's mind moved. The Emperor Xia's sword immediately turned into a ray of golden light and flew back into Ning Fan's storage pouch. Ning Fan's eyes widened. This golden-eyed elderly man is really impressive. He just raised his hand and snatched the Emperor Xia's sword from my storage pouch. Judging from his words, he's the former owner of the Emperor Xia's sword? The old monster said that this person's surname is Xia. Could it be that he's Emperor Xia? You still have this item? The fate between us is indeed not shallow. The golden-eyed elderly man seemed to have discovered something. He pointed at Ning Fan's storage pouch and 2 dragon pearls, one black and one white, immediately flew out from the pouch and landed on his palm. The Yin-Yang Dragon Pearl. In the past, I've also fished for the Yin-Yang Dragon Pearl. Unfortunately, it came too late. I don't need it anymore. Thus, I abandoned it. Fine. Since we're fated to meet, I'll bestow you some opportunities. Your sword intent is quite similar to mine. Sword light suddenly flashed in the golden-eyed elderly man's eyes. An earth-shattering sword intent immediately locked onto Ning Fan. The strength of that sword intent was enough to instantly kill a life-immortal realm expert. The strength of that sword intent gave Ning Fan a feeling that he could not win against it. It was as if Ning Fan would be cut into countless pieces by that sword intent with just a single thought from the elderly man. What surprised Ning Fan was that the Emperor Xia's sword intent that he had comprehended from the Emperor Xia's sword was rapidly improving under the elderly man's help. Minor accomplishment, grand accomplishment, perfection. After perfection, it would be the 9th grade. The elderly man had actually given Ning Fan some of his Emperor Xia's sword intent, allowing Ning Fan's sword intent to reach the 9th grade sword intent realm. This is all I can help you with. If you want your sword intent to improve to a higher grade step by step, it all depends on your own luck. Our fate has come to an end. I'm leaving now. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden-eyed elderly man lifted his hand and tore open a passage in the world. He turned into a ray of sword light and entered the passage, disappearing in an instant. Ning Fan no longer had the time to ponder. He immediately sat cross-legged on the snowy ground and stabilized his sword intent. In 7 Apricot City, the little demoness eyes were filled with astonishment. It's him. He's suppressing his cultivation base and deliberately not breaking through to the life-immortal realm. However, his strength is comparable to a true immortal realm expert. He's the Sword Emperor of the Sword World 6 million years ago. Chapter 661. After a night, Ning Fan finally managed to calm the raging sword intent. Ning Fan fell into deep thought as he sensed the power of his 9th grade sword intent, which had greatly increased. Sword intent was much harder to cultivate than other intents. The God Intent Stone and the Tree God Fruit were both unable to raise the grade of the sword intent. The best way to improve sword intent was to devour high-grade flying swords and high-grade sword intents. The cultivation of sword intent was very difficult. Ning Fan knew that if he didn't put all his effort into cultivating the sword intent, the chance of him reaching the 1st grade was almost 0. Currently, I don't have enough time to cultivate the sword wholeheartedly. Sword technique is one of my many techniques, but it's not my Dao. A messenger flying sword flew towards Ning Fan from the direction of the Godly Void Pavilion. Ning Fan shattered the flying sword with one of his fingers. After listening to the voice transmission, his eyes flashed. Standing up, he stepped on the thick snow and walked out of Sea Fan Palace towards the Godly Void Pavilion. He walked all the way to the little demon girl's chamber without anyone stopping him. In the Godly Void Pavilion, the little demoness had already brewed the Qilin tea and was waiting for Ning Fan's arrival. As soon as she saw Ning Fan, she immediately narrowed her eyes into a crescent shape and said with a smile, "Hubby, you have such a great reputation. You killed 5 void fragmentation realm experts of the mountain world in a row. Now the entire rain world is praising your strength." Really? Ning Fan sat in front of the little demoness, picked up the teacup and drank the Kirin tea in one gulp. Back then, he had yet to break through to the void fragmentation realm and was unable to endure the medicinal power of the Qilin tea. Now, however, he no longer had to worry about it. Is the tea brewed by my wife delicious? Delicious? Let's get down to business. Are we going to the immortal burning valley today? Ning Fan felt a little helpless. The little demoness was still pretending to be his Dao companion. I've agreed to meet Hidaozi and the others in the immortal burning valley. They'll be a bit late, so let's go wait there. Oh, by the way, there's one thing I haven't asked for your permission on. Without your permission, I wouldn't dare ask for a third helper. You know that Shirshio and I will each hire 3 helpers to help us obtain the map. You're one of the 3 helpers. As for the other 2, guess who the second helper is? Hint, she is from the rain world. The little demoness pretended to look at Ning Fan innocently, but it was all an act. Ning Fan was startled. He didn't think that the third helper that the little demoness wanted to find needed his approval before she dared to invite him. Who is the second helper? Ning Fan obviously did not have the mood to guess. Red shirt. You can also call her Thunder Emperor Buzhou. I heard that you have an ambiguous relationship with Hong Yi. Is that true? The little demoness quietly looked at Ning Fan. She noticed that when Ning Fan heard that the second helper was Hong Yi, he only slightly twitched his eyelids without much surprise. After all, the little demon girl had already said that the second helper was someone from the rain world. From Ning Fan's point of view, there were no outstanding experts in the rain world. It was not surprising for the little demoness to take a fancy to Hong Yi and make her helper. Who is the third helper that you want to invite? Ning Fan continued to ask. The third helper is her. Her physique is useful for the 4th stage of the immemorial realm. The little demon girl took out a scroll and opened it. What was drawn in the scroll was an innocent and pure young girl. Jia? No. Ning Fan's eyes were resolute. There was no room for discussion and he directly rejected the little demoness suggestion. Letting Jiha participate in the journey to retrieve the map? What a joke! Even though Ning Fan did not know what kind of dangers they would encounter on the way to retrieve the map, he firmly believed that even a void fragmentation expert would have a slim chance of survival. At the very least, they would need a void fragmentation cultivation base to barely protect themselves. Jiha was just a gold core realm cultivator. If she goes to such a dangerous place, she would certainly not have the strength to protect herself. Ning Fan also did not have absolute confidence to ensure her safety. I have a treasure. If I give it to her to protect herself, she will be very safe. As long as nothing happens in the 5 stages of the immemorial realm, Jiha will not be in any danger. What if there is an accident? There is no need to mention this again. Ning Fan's tone was too firm and his eyes were too stubborn. It was the little demoness' first time seeing such a Ning Fan. As expected, Jiha is very important to him. The little demoness felt a little empty in her heart, as if she had already predicted this situation. She nodded and said, "All right, I won't let her go. On our side, only you, Hong Yi, and I will go. My traveling light is faster than you, so I will go first. After you are done with the matters in 7 Apricot City, come and meet me in the immortal burning valley. Take a look at this jade slip. There is a detailed introduction of the immortal burning valley in it." Without saying anything else, the little demoness put down a jade slip on the table, stood up and walked out of the pavilion. She turned into a ray of light and disappeared in a flash. She had not finished her tea, but she was no longer in the mood to drink. Her cultivation base had gradually recovered to the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Is she throwing a tantrum? Ning Fan was startled. He was not stupid. He could naturally see that the little demoness was a little different from usual. She did not call him Little Fan Fan, nor did she call him husband. She did not even have the intention to pester him. She actually left alone. Was it because Ning Fan did not agree to let Jiha go with him? Ning Fan shook his head. If the little demoness was unhappy because of this reason, Ning Fan would not care even if she was angered to death. No matter what, Ning Fan would not let Jiha be in danger. She should not be involved in the matters of the cultivation world. After carefully reading the jade slip, Ning Fan's figure flashed and returned to See Fan Palace. He informed everyone about the matter of going to the immortal Burning Valley and Li Tsongtian. He left 12 thundershock seeds in 7 Apricot City and gave them to Yu Lingkong to defend against the possible enemies. Then, he took out the ancient golden sword and left. The little demoness was not throwing a tantrum. She was just a little disappointed and unspeakable annoyed. She was so disappointed that she could not even fake a smile. She no longer had the mood to be entangled with Ning Fan. No. Because Ning Fan cared about Jihe, he would never let her be in danger. Then what about her? If one day, she returned to the Eastern Heaven Godly Void Pavilion. If one day she was forced to die by the old monsters in the pavilion, would Ning Fan care about her like how he cared about Jihe? Would Ning Fan protect her behind him in front of countless true immortals and say, no? It shouldn't be. She was not angry, she was just jealous. Xiao Qianxi, you are actually jealous of the descendant of ancient chaos? This is not like you. The little demoness closed her eyes and silently recited the scripture of the void scripture while flying. After a long time, all of her distracting thoughts disappeared, and what replaced them was the same smiling expression that she always had. Yes, this is how I should be. Little Fan or whatever, it's enough to be ambiguous, there's no need to be true. I only need to follow the ancestors' instructions and pester him. There's no need to think about other things that I shouldn't think about. After all, one day I will be pushed out to die. The so-called godly void young pavilion master may look glamorous on the surface, but in reality he is just a sacrificial offering. The little demoness flew with a smile on her face. That smile was still a disguise. One had to admit that after the little demoness cultivation base recovered to the 6-break realm, her speed became faster. Even an ordinary 8-break realm cultivator would not be able to travel at such a speed. Ning Fan naturally could not catch up to her. Ning Fan stood on the tip of the ancient sword and occasionally took out immortal jades and placed them into the groove of the ancient sword. He flew across the middle state towards the northwest continent of the Rain Immortal world. His destination was the West Flame country in the northwest continent. The immortal Burning Valley was located in the West Flame country. Along the way, he passed by countless cultivation countries. None of the grand formations that locked the countries could stop him. Along the way, when they saw the cultivation base of the Golden Sword light, their eyes were filled with admiration and even fanaticism. They knew that the person who flew across the sky was their Lord Rain's sovereign, Ning Fan. When Yun Zhongshuan was in charge of the Rain world, it had always been known as the weakest in the 9 worlds and was often bullied by others. In the past, when Moksha Sovereign entered the Rain world to kill people, Yun Zhongshuan did not even let out a fart. The incidents of Moksha Sovereign entering the Rain world to kill people had happened countless times. Every time, Yun Zhongshuan would just remain silent. 4,000 years ago, there was even a 6th-break realm devil cultivator who openly entered the Rain world and massacred 4 high-grade cultivation countries. He sacrificed the lives of countless cultivators and mortals to refine his soul banner. At that time, Yun Zhongshuan still remained silent. 6,000 years ago, there was once an unrivaled 5th-break realm old monster who entered the Rain world and borrowed some Dao crystals from the Rain Palace to cultivate. Yun Zhongshuan gritted his teeth and still gave the Dao crystals to that person. Although he also understood that the person would never return the Dao crystals of the Rain Palace to him. When Yun Zhongshuan was in charge of the Rain world, he would only suppress the cultivators of the world, plot against the Thunder Sovereign and deal with Yun Tianjue. He was very cautious towards outsiders. He did not dare to act recklessly as he was afraid that he would bring great trouble upon himself. What he loved the most in his life was to get himself into trouble. What he hated the most was to bend his knees and lower his head to others. This kind of unyielding character was very deadly. If he did not have a powerful trump card, it would be very easy for him to get himself into trouble and be killed by a powerful enemy that he could not afford to offend. Therefore, Ning Fan kept searching for trump cards that could save his life and keep becoming stronger. He wanted to become an existence that others could not afford to offend. All of this was just to prevent his soul from bending his knees and lowering his head to anyone. If he were to compare himself to the emperors of the mortal world, Ning Fan was not a benevolent monarch who ruled the world but a tyrant who expanded his territory. After traveling for a few days, the West Flame country was already right in front of him. As soon as he entered the country, he saw a ray of fiery light shooting up into the sky from the center of the country. The location of that fiery light was the immortal burning valley. There used to be an ancient sect in the immortal burning valley which was called the Shedding Orchid sect. After the Shedding Orchid sect was destroyed, the immortal burning valley became a dangerous place. At the same time, it also hid countless opportunities of the Shedding Orchid sect. Countless cultivators of the rain world were keen on coming to this place to try their luck and obtain opportunities. The valley was filled with endless dangers. Those below the nascent soul realm could not even enter the outer region of the immortal burning valley. Even if a nascent soul realm cultivator were to enter the outer region, most of them would only be able to survive. In order to enter the valley, one must at least have an absolute void stage cultivation base. Only then would one be able to break through the flame formation of the valley and enter the valley. In the deepest part of the valley, there was a place called the Fallen Abyss. Immortal flames interweaved in the abyss. Even the Rain Sovereign could not enter that place. According to the Rain Sovereign, the Fallen Abyss contained the Emergence Pill. In the past, the Rain Sovereign had used Ning Fan and protected him in order to obtain this rare and elusive Emergence Pill. Other than the Fallen Abyss, there were countless other abyss in the valley. One of them was called the Immemorial Abyss. According to the Little Demoness, the immemorial fisherman and woven cowhide basket painting was hidden in this immemorial abyss. In order to obtain the painting, one would need to pass 5 tests and 1 door. The 5 tests referred to the 5 tests of the immemorial 5 tests. Each of them was extremely dangerous. Ning Fan had no idea about the specifics. The 1 door referred to the door of the forbidden area. According to the Little Demoness, one must gather all 6 keys in order to open the door of the forbidden area. The name of the key was the Shedding Orchid Key. It was a type of key that was made from blue wandering gold. Only by gathering all 6 Shedding Orchid keys could one open the door of the forbidden area. Unfortunately, Hidaozi only had 3 Shedding Orchid keys while the Little Demoness only had 2. There was still 1 more key that they could not find. Therefore, they were prepared to forcefully blast open the door of the forbidden area of the Shedding Orchid sect. However, if they do that, there would be many unknown twists and turns. The last Shedding Orchid key seems to be in my hands. Standing on the ancient sword, Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and took out a bronze key. He had obtained it by accident when he cut the divine chests on Pill Island in the past. He did not expect that this key would come in handy during this trip to search for the map. The Little Demoness left too quickly. Ning Fan did not have the time to tell her that he had the 6th key. Forget it. About the key, I'll talk about it after I pass the 5 trials of the ancient times and arrive at the giant door of the forbidden area. Ning Fan flew all the way into the immortal burning valley. The immortal burning valley was huge. It was comparable to a high-grade cultivation country. The outer area was filled with endless mountains and dense forests. The yin qi in this place was extremely dense and there were many ghosts and spirits living there. Most of the ghosts were at the Gold Core realm and above. Occasionally, there would be some nascent soul realm and divine transformation realm ghosts wandering in the outer area. These ghosts had low intelligence. Occasionally, some of them would fly into the sky and try to attack Ning Fan. However, they were all destroyed by his sword sense. After flying for hundreds of millions of li, Ning Fan arrived at the inner part of the immortal burning valley. The inner part of the valley was surrounded by layers of green flames which formed an extremely powerful fire formation. It was impossible for cultivators who were not at the absolute void stage to get through this fire formation. Ning Fan kept the ancient sword and landed on the ground. He carefully studied the green flames. These green flames seemed to be the seed fire of some kind of immortal fire. Could it be the immortal fire in the Fallen Abyss? Devour! Ning Fan opened his mouth and inhaled. The green flames on the fire formation turned into green fire lotuses and were all swallowed by him. Gradually, the entire fire formation was devoured by Ning Fan. From today onwards, there were no more fire formations in this place. Even if one's cultivation base was not at the absolute void stage, he could still enter the inner part of the valley. Of course, the inner part of the valley was incomparably dangerous. Without an absolute void stage cultivation base, one would be courting death if he or she enters. The fire elemental body of the minor 5 elements physique has reached the great perfection stage. Is this the power of the seed fire of the immortal fire? If I head to the fallen abyss and devour all the immortal fire, my fire elemental body should be able to reach the great perfection stage in one go. The reason why Ning Fan entered the immortal burning valley this time was to head to the fallen abyss. Be it the immortal fire or the emergence pill, both of them were extremely tempting to him. The Rain Sovereign was already dead. If Ning Fan obtains the emergence pill, he would naturally consume it himself. The little demoness should still be waiting for him in the ancient abyss. During this period of time, he would head to the fallen abyss to collect the emergence pill. Ning Fan turned into a ray of light and flew towards the direction of the fallen abyss. The information that the little demoness gave him included the map of the entire immortal burning valley. Many locations that were filled with illusory formations were marked out. With this information, Ning Fan would be able to avoid all the dangers and reach the fallen abyss. The yin qi inside the valley was denser than the outside. There was a special type of undead spirit in this place, vengeful spirit. This kind of vengeful spirit was born from the resentment of the dead. It would gather and disperse at times. Sometimes, the resentment would gather and form void refinement realm vengeful spirits to besiege those who enter the valley. Sometimes, the resentment would gather and form void fragmentation realm vengeful spirits that would kill in all directions. Even a void fragmentation realm vengeful spirit could not live for too long. It could only live for 7 days at most. Then, its spiritual body would dissipate and turn back into resentment, which would then condense into other vengeful spirits. If a vengeful spirit dies, it would also turn back into resentment. Theoretically speaking, if the resentment in this place is not eliminated, there would be no end to the vengeful spirits. Knowing that there might be void fragmentation realm vengeful spirits in this place, Ning Fan directly activated his flowing light ring and flew away while concealing himself, avoiding a lot of trouble. 1 hour later, he arrived at the fallen abyss. It was an abyss filled with a boundless sea of fire. The sea of fire was green in color and would turn into the shape of a green lotus. It was an immortal fire. It was unknown how deep the abyss was. The emergence pill was most likely at the bottom of the sea of fire. Ning Fan did not enter the sea of fire rashly. Looking at the sea of immortal fire from a close distance gave him a terrifying feeling. If he enters the sea of fire rashly, he would certainly end up dead. His only hope of survival was still the power of the steel of sun and moon that could restrain the immortal fire. Currently, the steel of sun and moon had absorbed 2 yang spirits and 1 yin spirit. However, it was still not enough to restrain the immortal fire. Ning Fan's cultivation base was at the 2nd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In front of the immortal fire, this level of cultivation base was not worth mentioning. As for the minor 5 elements body, Ning Fan's minor 5 elements body had yet to attain the great perfection of the fire element. His body's defensive power against fire was still very limited. If he could attain the great perfection of the fire element, even if it was not as good as the inextinguishable fire body, it would still be useful. At that time, with the protection of the minor 5 elements body and the steel of sun and moon, Ning Fan had full confidence that he would not die after entering the sea of immortal fire. As for the idea of taking the immortal fire away, Ning Fan temporarily dismissed it. His current cultivation base was not enough to subdue the immortal fire. If he forcefully takes it away, he would probably be burned to ashes by the immortal fire. If the immortal fire was that easy to be subdued, it would have been taken by the Rain Sovereign a long time ago. Why would it stay here and hinder others from taking the emergence pill? I should try to perfect my fire elemental physique first. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the ground. He raised his hand and drew out balls of green flames from the sea of flames, refining them one after another. Although he could not take away the celestial fire for the time being, he could use the celestial fire to cultivate the lesser 5 elements constitution. The grade of the immortal fire was very high. Even if one cultivated the great 5 elements constitution, they could use it. Using it to cultivate the lesser 5 elements constitution was really overkill. Balls of green flames were refined into Ning Fan's body. The perfection stage of his fire elemental physique began to rise slowly. 6%, 7%, 8%. One day later, Ning Fan's fire elemental physique had reached perfection. His body's strength had increased, but the ancient devil's cultivation did not increase by a small realm like when he had perfected the wood element. His cultivation base was still at the peak of the reckless devil realm. He was unable to break through to the supreme devil realm with the help of the fire elemental perfection. Venerated demonic venerate was a major realm. If he wanted to break through, just perfecting one of his constitutions was not enough. Ning Fan stood up and looked at the sea of immortal flames in front of him. It was no longer as terrifying as before. Now that his fire elemental physique was perfected, his physical body's defense against fire had risen to an extremely heaven-defying level. With the protection of the steel of sun and moon, as long as he was careful, he would be able to advance and retreat calmly in the immortal flames. After absorbing the flames for one day, the sea of immortal flames did not reduce at all. Ning Fan withdrew his gaze and took out a fiery red pill to consume. This pill was called the Fire Resistance Pill. It was a low-grade 7th Revolution pill. It could improve a cultivator's fire defense for 2 hours. After refining the pill, Ning Fan stepped on the sea of immortal flames. Immediately, he felt a scorching sensation under his feet. His skin felt like it was about to be burnt. As the power of the steel of sun and moon spread to Ning Fan's body, the scorching sensation decreased a little. Even though it was still scorching hot, it would not cause any damage to his body. After making sure that he would be fine after stepping on the immortal flames, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with determination. With a flash, he dived into the sea of flames. The lower he went, the higher the temperature of the immortal flames became. In the end, even with the protection of the steel of sun and moon, Ning Fan's skin began to burn. One should know that this period of time was when the yin qi in the immortal burning valley was at its densest and the power of the immortal flames was at its weakest. Moreover, the rain sovereign had been using the sovereign rain to extinguish fire for many years. Even so, Ning Fan could not help but be amazed by the power of the immortal flames. If other cultivators enter the sea of flames, even if they are at the 7th or 8th fragmentation realm, they would probably die in the sea of flames. If the power of the immortal flames is at its peak, even a rogue immortal expert would have a high chance of dying in the sea of flames. When Ning Fan gradually could not endure the heat of the immortal flames anymore, the ground beneath his feet suddenly disappeared and he fell into a cool stone chamber. The stone chamber was equipped with a fire-isolating formation which isolated the immortal flames from the outside world. Ning Fan scanned his surroundings. He realized that this stone chamber was a pill refinement room. There was a door, but he did not know where it led to. The floor was covered with dust. The pill furnace had also decayed a long time ago. There was also a skeleton lying inside the pill refinement room. It was unknown how many years it had been since it died. The bones of this skeleton were rather smooth and shiny. It was glowing with illusory light. It was obvious that the cultivation base of the owner of the skeleton was definitely not weak when he was alive. At the very least, he was a void fragmentation realm cultivator. There were some jade slips on the bookshelf. Most of them had been damaged. Ning Fan took the few jade slips that were not damaged and carefully read them. Inside these jade slips were the 7 revolution pill recipes of the Shedding Orchid sect. After Ning Fan read through the jade slips, they seemed to be unable to withstand the power of his spirit sense and turned into ashes. Fortunately, Ning Fan had already memorized the pill recipes in his mind. Thus, he did not lose anything. There was nothing else worthy of his attention in this pill refinement room. Ning Fan walked towards the door of the pill refinement room. After passing through the stone door, he entered the next pill refinement room. There was also a void fragmentation realm skeleton in this pill refinement room. Ning Fan walked down the stairs and passed through hundreds of pill refinement rooms. There were void fragmentation realm cultivators who had died in all of the pill refinement rooms. Eventually, he arrived at the end of all the pill refinement rooms. It was the last stone chamber in this place. Inside the stone chamber, there was a massive pond of spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid in the pond had already dried up. At the bottom of the pond, there were 4 pills lying quietly. Among the 4 pills, 3 of them were just semi-finished products. They had yet to be completed. There was only one pill which was glowing with a mysterious light. It was a low-grade 8 revolution pill. That pill gave off a wisp of pill fragrance which had been sealed for many years. Ning Fan just sniffed it and he could feel that his magic power had increased by half a yuan. This is the emergence pill. When a void fragmentation realm cultivator consumes the emergence pill, there was a very small chance for him to directly break through to the life immortal realm and ascend to become an immortal. Even if he could not ascend to the immortal realm in one go, he could still increase the cultivation base of a void fragmentation realm cultivator by 1 layer. This was the pill that Yun Zhongshuan could not forget even after he died. Chapter 662. Ning Fan did not go to retrieve the emergence pill immediately. Instead, he frowned and looked at the edge of the spiritual liquid pool. There were 4 skeletons lying beside the spiritual liquid pool. One of them had already decayed and the robes it wore had already turned into ashes. The robes of the other 3 skeletons had yet to decay, but their physical bodies had already turned into ashes, leaving only their bones. Judging from the clothes of the 3 skeletons, they were not from the same era. Moreover, one of them had the emblem of the Rain Palace embroidered on his robes. Judging from the luster of the 4 skeletons, the weakest among them was a 7th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert when they were alive. According to Ning Fan's speculation, the 4 of them had a different origin from the skeletons in the hundreds of pill refinement rooms. The other skeletons were all pill refinement masters of the Shedding Orchid sect. However, these 4 skeletons were probably not the people of the Shedding Orchid sect. Instead, they were the people who came here to obtain the emergence pill. The fact that the 4 of them could pass through the sea of immortal flames and arrive at this place proved that they were very powerful. The 4 of them did not die in the sea of flames, but they died beside the emergence pill. Ning Fan frowned and stared at the 4 emergence pills in the spiritual liquid pool with a solemn expression. His heart sank. There must be hidden dangers in this place. Otherwise, these 4 old monsters would not have died here. He closed his eyes and spread his spirit sense far and wide, spreading it across all the pill refinement rooms. Only then did he count that there were 256 pill refinement masters in this place. All 256 pill refinement rooms were arranged in a strange formation. The way they were arranged was like a long snake that coiled from the outside to the inside. As for the stone room that contained the emergence pill, it was located at the center of all the circular formations. This is a killing formation. Ning Fan did not know the name of this formation, but he knew that it was a type of immortal formation. This immortal formation would kill anyone who tries to take away the emergence pill. If someone is careless and thinks that they can easily take away the emergence pill after arriving at this place, they would be gravely mistaken. Unless they are prepared beforehand, even a rogue immortal would probably die under the attack of this immortal formation. As for cultivators at the 7th and 8th break realm, if they could not see the profoundness of this immortal formation, they would not be able to break it even if they noticed it. They could only leave regretfully without being able to take the emergence pill. Ning Fan closed his eyes and sensed the formation for a long time. Eventually, he shook his head and sighed. There are no tricks to break through this formation. You can only break through it with your own strength. My strength isn't enough to break the formation. If I want to take the emergence pill, I will have to endure the full attack of the immortal formation. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch, took out the last immortal control talisman and stuck it on his chest. An immortal control talisman could withstand a single attack from a rogue immortal. With the protection of this talisman, Ning Fan would not be killed by the first attack of the immortal formation. However, he would not be able to withstand the second attack. In the end, he had decided to take the Ascension Pill. He took out the ancient golden sword and took a step forward. He took a deep breath and slowly raised his index finger, aiming at the direction of the Emergence Pill. He activated his magic power. Suddenly, a golden whirlpool appeared beneath the spirit liquid pool. Golden whirlpools also appeared in each of the 256 alchemy rooms. The 4 emergence pills were sucked into the vortex. At the next moment, they were teleported to Ning Fan's hand. The moment the emergence pill was taken out, all 256 refining rooms started to shake. The skeletons of the various alchemists who had died all stood up strangely. Their eyes were filled with ferocity as they chanted in a hoarse voice. Tao Lotus Immortal Fire, protect me. Ascension Immortal Formation, protect me. Tao Lotus Immortal Fire, protect me. Ascension Immortal Formation, protect me. At this moment, boundless green formation light rose from all the refining rooms. An extreme sense of danger rose in Ning Fan's heart, as if he would die under the attack of this immortal formation. Without saying a word, he performed a hand seal and used the spatial vortex technique to pass through all 256 refining rooms in an instant. Then, he stepped on the ancient sword and flew towards the sea of immortal flames above. Emergence. There seemed to be an ancient voice coming from the formation light. A boundless green light instantly enveloped Ning Fan's body. This green light was enough to instantly kill an 8th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator and turn them into ashes. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he would not be able to withstand this green light. The immortal control talisman in front of his chest suddenly emitted boundless silver light and burned itself out. All of a sudden, a powerful immortal barrier appeared around Ning Fan's body, blocking the attack of the green light. However, the immortal barrier dimmed very quickly. It would disappear in a few breaths' time. At that time, Ning Fan would no longer have any defensive means to block the green light. The attack range of the Grand Formation is only within the Earth Abyss. I have to get out of the abyss within 3 breaths' time. Without saying a word, Ning Fan threw out a large number of immortal jades and accelerated the speed of the ancient sword to its maximum. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, Ning Fan was still a distance away from the sea of flames. However, the talisman power of the immortal control talisman had been completely exhausted. Emergence. When these 2 words resounded in Ning Fan's ears again, his back was already soaked with cold sweat. An irresistible and boundless power landed on his body, turning his physical body into ashes bit by bit and disappearing into nothingness. Without saying a word, he transformed into his incarnation and took out a large number of defensive magic treasures from his storage pouch, activating all of them. These defensive magic treasures varied in strength. The weakest was a mortal void treasure while the strongest was a mid-grade immortal void treasure. However, these magic treasures only lasted for a breath's time under the attack of the green light before turning into ashes. As for Ning Fan's incarnation, it also turned into ashes bit by bit. In just a breath's time, half of Ning Fan's incarnation had already turned into ashes. He raised his hand and hammered his chest, forcefully healing his incarnation at the cost of sacrificing his own blood essence. Every second, Ning Fan would damage his body once. 10 breaths later, Ning Fan's sword flashed and he got out of the fallen abyss. At the moment he got out of the fallen abyss, his face turned extremely pale. He directly fell off the ancient sword and landed on the ground. Slowly getting out of his incarnation, Ning Fan's face was pale but his eyes were filled with joy. The emergence pill is in my hands. There were 3 semi-finished pills and 1 completed pill. If he could find an 8th revolution pill refinement master to concoct the 3 semi-finished pills into a completed pill, he would have 4 emergence pills. Ning Fan carefully sealed the emergence pill and put away the ancient sword. Then he took out some healing pills and consumed them. After that he summoned Nieli to protect him. The emergence immortal formation was truly impressive. Ning Fan had used the immortal control talisman, hundreds of mortal void and immortal void defensive magic treasures and damaged himself several times to barely escape. Moreover, this was under the situation where no one was controlling the formation. If there is someone controlling this formation, Ning Fan would certainly die under this formation. If I can take this formation away and use it to protect you country, Ning Fan was just thinking about it. With his current cultivation base, he was still unable to take away the immortal fire and the immortal formation. If he has the help of 2 or more rogue immortals, he could consider taking away the immortal fire and the immortal formation. Nieli stood beside Ning Fan to protect him. Her purple eyes were filled with anger as she glared at the fallen abyss. She could tell that the one who injured her master was the grand formation under the sea of flames. If her cultivation base was strong enough, she would certainly destroy this formation and avenge her master. From time to time, vengeful spirits lurked nearby, trying to attack Ning Fan, who was healing himself. Nieli finally found a way to vent her anger. Every time she saw a vengeful spirit trying to attack Ning Fan, she would kill them all. Even if it was a vengeful spirit with 1 or 2 pieces of its body broken, they were still no match for Nieli. One day later, Ning Fan's blood essence had been slightly replenished. His complexion had already returned to normal. He stood up and stroked Nieli's smooth feathers. "You've worked hard." Nieli's purple eyes revealed some shyness, as if she wasn't used to being praised. "Let's go to the primordial abyss." With a leap, Ning Fan landed on Nieli's head. He raised a finger and sent a strand of spiritual sense into Nieli's spiritual sea. The map of the immortal burning valley was recorded in his spiritual sense. Nieli chirped obediently. Then, it flapped its wings and flew into the sky, carrying Ning Fan all the way to the immemorial abyss. Outside the primordial abyss, the little demoness had already waited for 2 days. There was only a lady in red robes beside her. Deshertio and the others had yet to arrive, and Ning Fan had not arrived as well. The red-clothed woman was the Thunder Sovereign, Hong. Little Fanfan's speed shouldn't be this slow, right? Why isn't he here yet? Ehe, Hong Yi, I heard that you have a good relationship with little Fan. The little demon girl looked at Hong Yi playfully, her black gem-like eyes full of teasing. Hong Yi's blood-red eyes were still as cold as before. However, after hearing Ning Fan's name, her cold face became slightly unnatural. "I've only met him a few times, and he's helped me. I do have some friendship with him." There was no need to veto it. That was her personality. She did not have the habit of lying. Her black hair draped over her shoulders, and there was a blood-red jade hairpin at the back of her head. Her fingernails were blood-red, but her lips were pale. She wore a red palace dress and a pair of plain embroidered shoes. Her snow-white ankles could be vaguely seen under her dress. Just by standing there, she gave off an aura of lightning power. Today, she had been completely resurrected. Her cultivation base had even reached the peak of the 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. When she died 10,000 years ago, she was already at the peak of the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. 10,000 years later, her cultivation base had improved to the next level. Without Ning Fan's help, she would not have been able to resurrect so smoothly. No one knew that after she came back to life, she recalled many things. She recalled the time when she was Ning Honghong in the demon's sinister forest. She had some romantic feelings with Ning Fan. Ning Honghong was one of the 10,000 lightning grass clones of hers. She was taken by Ning Fan's mother and given to Ning Fan as a companion demon. She also recalled all of these things. There was a voice in her heart that told her that she was the high and mighty Thunder Sovereign. Another voice told her that she was Ning Fan's companion demon and Ning Fan was her master. She remembered that Ning Fan's mother once told her that Yun Tianjue was Ning Fan's father. Thus, when Yun Tianjue was defeated by her, she still helped him recover his memories. Unfortunately, her white lightning memory extinguishing technique was not enough to help Yun Tianjue recover his memories. Ning Fan. Hong Yi's blood-red eyes flashed with a hint of complexity. Soon after, this trace of complexity was well concealed by her. "I'm Hong Yi. Ning Honghong is just one of my clones." When she thought of that, her blood-red eyes no longer showed any trace of emotion. Is it my little Fan who has come? The little demoness looked into the distance with a smile. However, her smile disappeared at the next moment. In that direction, there were 4 rays of traveling light rushing towards them. The person in the lead was Hishirshio. It doesn't seem to be your little Fan. Hong Yi sneered mockingly. It's a group of annoying people. However, we must cooperate with them to obtain the painting this time. After all, the news of the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting was given to us by the Jade Dao sect. If we obtain the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting, we naturally have to share some of the benefits with the Jade Dao sect. The traveling lights of Hishirshio and the others approached them from afar. When they were 10,000 zhang away from the immemorial abyss, the 4 of them landed in front of the little demoness and Hong Yi. Greetings, Miss Xiao. I hope you've been well since we parted ways in the demon world. Hishirshio smiled gently. However, the little demoness only replied with an indifferent tone. I'm very well. There's no sickness or disaster. You don't have to worry about me, Hidozi. Is that so? Hishirshio was not angry at being snubbed. He knew that the little demoness had such a personality. He glanced at Hong Yi at the side. His eyes flashed and he said with a smile. Miss Xiao only has 1 helper? Who is this fairy? Her cultivation base is really impressive. She's actually a 6-shattering realm cultivator. She's a cultivator from the rain world. Her name is Hong Yi. Hishirshio's eyes scanned Hong Yi's body. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Hong Yi was a beauty. Her beauty carried the dignity of a sovereign. It was rare to see such a woman. If you look at me again, I'll dig your eyes out. Hong Yi's blood-red eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. A vast lightning might immediately press down on Hishirshio. Hishirshio's expression changed. He retreated tens of steps before he could slightly remove the pressure from Hong Yi. His eyes turned cold. This woman is really arrogant and rude. She's just a cultivator from the lower world. How dare she offend me? If it wasn't for Hong Yi's high cultivation base, Hishirshio really wanted to teach her a lesson. Hishirshio suppressed his displeasure and said to the little demoness with a smile, Why don't I see fellow Taoist Bai Mu? By the way, Miss Xiao hasn't told me who is the 3rd helper that you've invited? The 3rd helper that I've invited is Bai Mu's wife. However, Bai Mu didn't agree to let his wife risk her life in this place. That's why I didn't invite the 3rd helper. As for Bai Mu, he's probably on his way here. Speaking of Ning Fan, the little demoness' eyes lit up a little. Her expression was very dazzling. It made Hishirshio's eyes turn cold. He snorted. Retrieving the map is of great importance. What's the harm in letting his wife risk her life? Will he not get any benefits after this? This Bai Mu shelf is really huge. I'm already here but he's not here yet. Is he trying to make me wait for him alone? Just as Hishirshio finished speaking, a ferocious beast's aura force suddenly flew towards them from afar. It was a gigantic purple-eyed peacock. On the peacock's head stood a white-robed young man with a cold expression. Does Hidaozi like to speak ill of others behind their backs? Hishirshio turned his head abruptly and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Gong Yangzi and Xianhua were also surprised. Yun Yomu was the only one who did not show any surprise. The evil cloud rain sovereign? Why is he here? Hishirshio had already heard about the evil cloud rain sovereign's battle achievements when he came to the rain world this time. In the face of 5 void fragmentation realm experts of the mountain world, Ning Fan had emerged victorious all by himself. Even Hishirshio had no choice but to accept such a result. Hishirshio didn't understand. The matter of obtaining the diagram was of great importance. Other than the upper echelons of Jade Dao sect and Godly Void Pavilion, no one else knew that the immemorial fisherman and cowhide diagram existed in the burning Immortal Valley. Why would the sinful cloud rain sovereign come here? Could it be that he knows that one of the 4 ancient maps is hidden here? I am the Taoist child of the Eastern Heaven Jade Dao sect, Hishirshio. Greetings to the rain sovereign. I wonder what brings the rain sovereign here? Hishirshio revealed a gentle smile and cupped his fists at Ning Fan from afar. He stared at the ferocious beast beneath Ning Fan's feet with eyes filled with fear. This ferocious beast was very strong, and it wasn't something he could defend against. If he fought, he would definitely die. I am Ning Fan and also Bai Mu. Do you understand what I mean? Ning Fan summoned the Sin Li. With a sway of his body, he appeared beside the little demoness. He shook his cauldron ring and kept the Sin Li. His words stirred up huge waves in He Shirshio, Gong Yangzi, and Mystic Flame's hearts. Ning Fan was actually Bai Mu. Bai Mu, whose name shook the entire demon world, was actually the reign sovereign of this generation. If this news were to spread, the 9 worlds would certainly be shaken. Besides, this shock would be even more shocking than when Ning Fan killed the Vine Sovereign, the Rain Sovereign, and the cultivators of the mountain world. Who would have thought that the Rain Sovereign of this generation had once snuck into the demon world and single-handedly killed the Yellow Dragon clan, 39 Void Fragmentation Realm experts, and 4 rogue demons? Chapter 663. Is this the primordial abyss? Ning Fan scanned the area with his spirit sense. Below the immemorial abyss, the Yin Qi was extremely dense. It was unknown how many vengeful spirits were born there. Among them, there were no less than 100 Void Fragmentation Realm vengeful spirits. There were even vengeful spirits at the 8 Shattering Realm among the auras. This place was like a nest of vengeful spirits. Ordinary people would not barge into this place. The chances of him discovering the 5 stages of the immemorial era were slim. There were even fewer who knew that the primordial fisherman's cowhide painting was hidden in the primordial 5 trials. The immemorial fisherman's cowherd painting was the first of the 4 ancient diagrams. It contained the Tao track of life and death. It could help Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators comprehend the Tao and become immortals. The Golden Sky Black map was the second of the 4 ancient maps. It contained the path of Yin and Yang and could help a perfected immortal break through Yin and Yang to become an immortal emperor. In comparison, the value of the second picture was far above that of the first. There was no shortage of life immortals in the 4 heavens, but there was a shortage of immortal emperors. Naturally, there were far fewer people who valued the first picture. He Shirshio and the others gradually put away the shocked expressions on their faces. They stared at Ning Fan deeply without saying a word. Ning Fan changed his name to Bai Mu and massacred all the dragons of the Yellow Dragon clan with the help of the dragon-suppressing treasure. Even though He Shirshio was shocked, he was not afraid. However, Ning Fan had relied on his own strength to destroy the 5 Shatterer of the mountain world. This made He Shirshio even more fearful. After all, He Shirshio himself was only a 5 Shatterer. He was silent for a while before he said to the little temptress, "Miss Xiao, those who should be here are already here. Let's kill our way into the vengeful spirit's lair and break through to the position of the first stage of the primordial era. What do you think?" "All right, let's move forward together and not split up. If you encounter a powerful vengeful spirit, try not to fight. Avoid it if you can." After that, the little demon girl and Hong Yi took the lead and flew into the primordial abyss. He Shirshio and the others also flew into the underground abyss. Yun Yomu was the only one who cupped his fists at Ning Fan before flying away. Ning Fan was the Rain Sovereign and he was also his master. Thus, he naturally could not be rude to him. After the crowd of people left, Ning Fan shook his cauldron ring and summoned Nyeli. Then he rode Nyeli into the underground abyss. The underground abyss was so deep that they could not see the bottom of it. After everyone flew into it, there were immediately 7 to 8 Void Fragmentation Realm vengeful spirits and hundreds of Void Refinement Realm vengeful spirits attacking them with ghostly roars. Behind this batch of vengeful spirits, there were still countless vengeful spirits. He Shirshio took out an iron fan magic treasure and fiercely fanned at the many vengeful spirits. In an instant, countless vengeful spirits were fanned into ashes. This fan could actually emit winds that could shatter 2 wind tribulations. Sword Demon Gong Yangzi took out a dark green flying sword. There was some hair growing on the hilt of the sword and it had eyeballs. It was very strange. The flying swords multiplied into millions, and countless vengeful spirits died under the sword light. Patriarch Enigma Flame sprayed out a yellow mist from his nose. the yellow mist pervaded the entrance of the primordial abyss. Any vengeful spirit that came into contact with the yellow mist would be incinerated to death. Yunyomu's hands were intertwined with the Tao thread of life and death. From time to time, he would use the Tao thread to kill the resentful spirits. With his current cultivation base, he could only kill vengeful spirits below the void fragmentation realm instantly. He would not be able to instantly kill vengeful spirits that were at the void fragmentation realm. Among these 7 to 8 void fragmentation realm vengeful spirits, the strongest one among them was only at the 2nd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The 4 of them attacked aggressively and killed all of the vengeful spirits very quickly. However, as they flew further down, more vengeful spirits attacked them. This time, there were more than 10 vengeful spirits in total. The strongest among them had even reached the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Even he Shirshio would not be able to kill vengeful spirits with such a cultivation base, let alone Gong Yangzi, Yunyomu and Yunyomu. Husband, it's time for us to take action. The little demoness giggled at Ning Fan. Then, she raised her palm towards one of the 5 broken vengeful spirits. A strange black hole rose from the center of her palm. The black hole produced a boundless suction force. Countless vengeful spirits were sucked into the black hole and died while screaming. Even a 5 broken vengeful spirit was instantly killed by her. In just an instant, more than half of the vengeful spirits were killed by her. This technique was called the Annihilation Technique. It was a great ability recorded in the Void Scripture. Ning Fan looked at the little demoness' palm. His eyes flashed, but he did not say anything. He stood on top of the Sinli mountain and performed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers. Countless golden vortexes immediately appeared below him, sucking countless vengeful spirits into the vortex heavenly hole. As soon as the vengeful spirits below the void fragmentation realm entered the vortex heavenly hole, they immediately turned into pus and blood and died. The blood was absorbed by the heavenly hole, increasing the power of the vortex heavenly hole bit by bit. The last 5 broken vengeful spirit was also sucked into the vortex heavenly hole. It would naturally die in 2 hours. At the moment Ning Fan kept the 5 broken vengeful spirits, He Shirshio, Gong Yangzi and Xianhua were shocked. They realized that Ning Fan's spatial vortex technique was extremely terrifying. They could not withstand this ability. Zili, you will kill the rest of them. Under Ning Fan's command, the Sinli mountain immediately flapped its wings. Countless dark purple wind blades killed all the void fragmentation realm vengeful spirits. The ferocity of the Sinli mountain shocked He Shirshio and the others once again. Similarly, none of them could withstand the wind blades. Hong Yi slightly raised her eyebrows. When Ning Fan left the Endless Sea, he had just attained the Void Glimpse stage. Now, however, he had already reached such a level. Even she could not help but admire Ning Fan's monstrous cultivation speed. My little Fan is really powerful. Be careful. We have already reached the depths of the nest of vengeful spirits. There are 8 broken void realm beings coming. Don't get caught up in the fight. Break through. At the bottom of this abyss, there was a passage that led straight to the underground. Outside the passageway, there were more than 80 void fragmentation realm vengeful spirits and thousands of void refinement realm vengeful spirits. Among them, there were 2 vengeful spirits. One of them charged at Ning Fan while the other one charged at He Shirshio and the others. 8 broken resentful spirits, Ning Fan's eyes were extremely solemn. This level of vengeful spirit was comparable to the sect masters of the 3 realms. It was not something he could defeat. Just as he was thinking about how to avoid the vengeful spirit's attack, a red-clothed figure suddenly appeared in front of him. With a wave of her hand, a lightning whip lashed towards the vengeful spirit. As the Thunder Sovereign, Hong Yi was extremely powerful. Although she was at the peak of the 7th Shatterer level, ordinary 8th Shatterers might not even be a match for her. The vengeful spirit in front of him was also slightly weaker than Red Spectre. However, Hong Yi did not have the confidence to kill this vengeful spirit. As the whip lashed down, the 10,000 lightning annihilation only managed to push the 8 shattering vengeful spirit back slightly. That was enough. Seizing the opportunity when the resentful spirits were repelled, the little demoness, Hong Yi and Ning Fan quickly broke through the encirclement of the resentful spirits and rushed into the passageway. Once they entered the tunnel, there were no more vengeful spirits to bother them. As for Ning Fan, he kept Nieli away again. Ning Fan is really lucky. Someone is helping him to block the tribulation. He Shirshio's eyes turned gloomy. Both of them were being targeted by the vengeful spirit. Ning Fan had someone to help him, but he did not. He Shirshio was far from being a match for the vengeful spirit. Looking at the vengeful spirit which was charging at him with its bloody mouth wide open, he gritted his teeth and took out a jade talisman, throwing it at the vengeful spirit. He only had one jade talisman. It was a life-saving item given to him by the Jade Dao sect. This jade talisman could be used to launch an attack of a rogue immortal realm cultivator. However, each talisman could only be used once. As soon as the jade talisman was used, it immediately turned into a destructive jade-colored sword light, cutting the vengeful spirit into two. However, he Shirshio did not feel happy at all. Instead, he felt his heart ache. Before entering the 5 stages of the immemorial time, he had already used up his life-saving item. This trip is going to be dangerous. After killing the vengeful spirit, he Shirshio and the others took the opportunity to break through the barrier and rushed into the underground passageway. The 2 sides of the passageway were made of bronze walls. Below their feet were bluestone stairs which extended all the way to the bottom. The vengeful spirits probably did not dare to enter the passageway because they felt that it was extremely dangerous. He Shirshio heaved a sigh of relief when he reached this place. Everyone walked down the stairs. After walking for an unknown period of time, they finally reached the end of the passageway. At the end of the passageway was a bronze palace. On the other side of the palace, there was a gigantic door. Beside the gigantic door, there were 5 smaller light doors with different colors. From the left to the right, they were gold, green, blue, red, and yellow respectively. This is the first stage of the immemorial time. The first stage is called the stage of 5 elements. The 5 light doors beside the gigantic door are the passageways of the 5 elements. As long as someone successfully passes through one of the passageways, the gigantic door will remain open for a short period of time. If one isn't proficient in the 5 elements technique, he or she will most likely die if he or she enters the 5 elements passageways. Let's leave this stage to those who are proficient in the 5 elements technique. Big Sister Hong Yi, why don't you go and enter the metal passageway? The little demoness looked at Hong Yi with a smile. Hong Yi was proficient in lightning techniques. Lightning was of the metal element. Thus, she was the most suitable candidate to enter the metal passageway. As long as Hong Yi could break the metal passageway, the gigantic door would open and the others would be able to pass through it safely. All right. Hong Yi did not say anything else. She took a step forward and turned into a ray of blood-red lightning, flying into the metal passageway. Hidaozi? Who is going to pass the stage on your side? The little demoness eyes fell upon Xianhua, thinking that he Shirshio would most likely send this person. Fellow Taoist Xianhua, you are proficient in the fire technique. Please go and enter the fire passageway. As expected by the little demoness, he Shirshio really sent Xianhua. Don't worry, Dozi. My cultivation base might not be the highest in the fire world, but my understanding of the Tao of fire is much deeper than some of the fire sovereigns. It won't be difficult for me to break the fire passageway. Xianhua laughed. With a flash, he turned into a ray of fiery light and flew into the fire passageway. The little demoness looked at Ning Fan playfully and said with a faint smile, "Husband, are you going to flirt with me here or are you going to enter the fire passageway?" She knew that Great Emperor Ancient Chaos had a treasure called the Steel of Sun and Moon which could restrain all flames. It was located in the profound Yin world. Since Ning Fan had obtained the inheritance of Ancient Chaos, he naturally had this treasure. Thus, there was almost no danger in entering the fire passageway. His chances of passing through the fire passageway would certainly be much higher than Xianhua. Does Miss Xiao not trust the helper that I invited? Fellow Taoist Xianhua has already entered the fire passageway. Why do you still want fellow Taoist Ning to enter? He Shirshio's face twitched. No. One more person means one more force, isn't it? Miss Xiao is right. If that's the case, please enter the fire passageway, fellow Taoist Ning. He Shirshio let out a hollow laugh. Inwardly, he felt a little unhappy. Ning Fan ignored He Shirshio and walked towards a light door step by step. That light door was not the light door of the fire passageway. What he wanted to enter was not the fire passageway but the water passageway. Little Fanfan's actions are always beyond my expectation. Is he going to enter the water passageway? That makes sense. Ancient chaos yin and yang, cultivating both ice and fire, his ability to restrain water is not small. The little demoness pondered. The water passageway? Is he going to court his death? Those who are not proficient in water techniques will most likely die if they enter the water passageway. He Shirshio's eyes widened. He couldn't figure out why Ning Fan wanted to enter the water passageway. He had heard that Ning Fan had a type of devil fire ability. He only knew that Ning Fan was proficient in fire techniques, but he had never heard that Ning Fan was proficient in water techniques. He naturally didn't know that Ning Fan didn't enter the water passageway to pass the trial, but to cultivate the water element physique of the minor 5 elements physique. Ning Fan could feel the extremely strong power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements passageway. He wanted to try and see if he could cultivate the minor 5 elements to perfection in the passageway. Such cold rain. Ning Fan flew into the water passageway. What he saw was a boundless snowfield. Above the snowfield, there was a drizzle. There was snow under his feet and rain above his head. This place was very cold, but the rain had not turned into ice yet. Therefore, there was still rain intent in the rain. The rain had an invisible lethality. If one wasn't proficient in the rain technique, they would be severely injured by the rain. Ning Fan had refined a lot of cold qi and had the minor 5 elements physique. Although his water body wasn't perfect, it could be considered as having some defense against water. Step by step, he walked on the snowfield, spreading his spirit sense far away. On this snowfield, there were countless snow beasts. After noticing that Ning Fan had intruded into this world, countless snow beasts immediately attacked him. These snow beasts varied in strength. The weakest among them was at the divine transformation realm, while the strongest had even reached the 3rd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Ning Fan spread his sword sense. Large groups of low-grade snow beasts died under his sword sense and turned back into white snow. Each of the snow beasts had a water crystal inside their bodies. After they died, the crystals fell on the snowfield. Ning Fan kept those water crystals away one by one. As for the void fragmentation realm's snow beasts, they were all kept into the vortex cave. 2 hours had already passed. The 5 resentful spirits had already turned into a pool of thick blood. When the void fragmentation realm's snow beasts were sucked into the vortex cave, they did not turn into blood. Instead, they turned into snow water. This snow water was just ordinary water. However, the water crystals inside the bodies of the snow beasts were extraordinary. Ning Fan took out the crystals from the vortex cave and studied them carefully. These water crystals contained extremely strong water elemental power. Water could turn into mist, rain, snow, ice, river, and ocean. The highest virtue was like water. Water was good and beneficial to all living beings. Therefore, it was similar to the Tao. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the snowfield, refining the water crystals one by one. The progress of his water elemental physique to perfection was increasing bit by bit. After refining all of the crystals, it had already reached 4%. Ning Fan stood up and walked forward. Whenever he encountered snow beasts, he would kill them and obtain the water crystals to refine them. His water elemental physique gradually increased. 5%, 6%, 7%. 10 days later, his water elemental physique had reached 100% and reached perfection. The perfection of his water elemental physique also gave his physical body a significant improvement. Even though his water elemental physique had reached perfection, his ancient devil cultivation base had yet to break through the bottleneck of the revered devil realm. When he was halfway through the water passage, he suddenly halted his footsteps. There were still snow beasts with 6 broken realm cultivation bases in front of him. Unless he can defeat these snow beasts, he would not be able to break through the trial of water. Ning Fan shook his head. He firmly believed that Hong Yi would be able to pass the trial of metal. There was no need for him to take the risk and fight against the 6 Broken Realms snow beasts just to pass the trial. There were more than one 6 Broken Realms snow beast. Even if he releases Nieli, he might not be able to guarantee that Nieli would be injured. It was not worth it. He walked back step by step. Sometimes he would look at the rain in the sky, and sometimes he would look at the snow under his feet. Ice was formed by water, and it was colder than water. However, under the effect of a great divine ability, water might be even colder than ice. Fog, rain, snow and ice. The difference between them was the difference in intent. River, lake and sea. The difference between them was the difference in momentum. The Tao of water was the cultivation of intent and momentum. Ning Fan was enlightened and walked out of the passage of water. Then he stepped into the passage of earth. The little demoness was stunned. She then understood something and looked at Ning Fan's back with a smile. I initially thought that my husband entered the passage of water to pass the trial. I didn't expect my guess to be wrong again. He Shirshio looked at Ning Fan's back with a puzzled expression. He entered the passage of water first and then the passage of earth. What is he doing? Inside the passage of earth, there was a boundless desert in front of him. If he wasn't an expert in the earth technique, he would probably be severely injured by the sand blowing on his body. There were also countless earth beasts in the desert. There were earth crystals in the bodies of these earth beasts. These earth beasts did not take the initiative to attack Ning Fan. Instead, they turned into stone and piled up into a mountain. When a group of earth beasts turned into mountains, an unimaginable earth force pressed down on Ning Fan's head. In an instant, Ning Fan's knees sunk deep into the desert. His expression was extremely solemn. The Tao of earth is different from that of water. It focuses on momentum instead of intent. Earth elemental cultivators are good at defending their momentum, but they are better at attacking with great momentum. Break. The devil chi in Ning Fan's right eye soared to the sky. In an instant, a huge devil mountain rose under his feet and he was standing on the peak of the devil mountain. Standing on the peak of the devil mountain, he controlled the momentum of the devil mountain. The momentum of the earth beasts was not worth mentioning as they crumbled one after another. Destroy! His sword's sense swept across the area. A large number of earth beasts began to fall and turned back into soil, leaving behind earth crystals. Chapter 664. Ning Fan kept the pieces of earth crystals and slowly refined them. His earth elemental physique's perfection rate began to rise slowly. 1%, 2%, 3%. He stood up and walked forward. There were a lot of earth beasts in the desert. As soon as they saw him, they immediately attacked him. Ning Fan continued to kill and refine the earth crystals along the way. 10 days later, his earth elemental physique was perfected. He stood on top of the devil mountain formed by devil chi, his eyes as deep as a lake. He raised his hand and picked up a grain of sand from the desert. He was silent for a while. If the mountain did not move, it would have power. The soil was thick and heavy, so it was powerful. If one has a deep understanding of the general trend, a speck of dust in his hand would be enough to fill up the ocean. This is the Tao of earth. Step by step, he walked out of the passage of earth and entered the passage of metal. There seems to be some changes in Little Fan Fan. Little Demon Girl's eyes flashed as if she was deep in thought. Within the passageway of metal, below was the Saber Mountain Sword domain and above was a boundless sea of lightning. Walking in the Blade Mountain Sword domain, the dense metal chi was enough to cut open the skin of an ordinary void fragmentation realm expert. However, it could not hurt Ning Fan, who had a strong physical body. Ning Fan flew into the sea of lightning. The lightning here was strong enough to kill void fragmentation realm experts who had yet to master the Tao of lightning. However, it could not hurt him who had condensed the Tai Su lightning star. If the metal condenses, it becomes the weapon. If the metal scatters, it becomes the lightning. The Tao of metal emphasized on the mind, and one must be sharp and fierce in order to unleash the greatest might of the metal element divine ability. Gold main attack. Ning Fan's eyes looked into the distance. Occasionally, there would be some lightning beasts attacking him from afar. There were not as many thunder beasts here as there were in the water and earth passages. It was most likely because Hong Yi had killed many thunder beasts when she passed through this passage. Ning Fan was least afraid of lightning beasts. He stepped on the Grand So lightning diagram and flew all the way. Whenever he encountered lightning beasts, he would collect them all. Even if he encountered void fragmentation realm lightning beasts, he would kill them all. Lightning beasts below the level of 5 fragmentation couldn't stand up to the might of the Tai Su lightning diagram. Ning Fan collected the golden crystals one by one and sat down in the sky with his legs crossed to refine them. After refining it, he continued onward, killing the lightning beasts and collecting the crystals. 10 days passed, and the metal elemental constitution was finally perfected. At this point, the lesser 5 elements body had been cultivated to the perfect state. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base and the perfected minor 5 elements physique, he was strong enough to shatter any magical technique of the 5 elements that was below the 5th element. With the breakthrough of the lesser 5 elements constitution, his physical body realm finally showed signs of breaking through. Ning Fan leaped into the air and sat cross-legged in the sea of lightning. His body was glowing with the light of the 5 elements. Essence Qi swirled around his body, and his essence Qi began to change. That transformation was to transform the cycle of essence Qi into Yuan Hui essence Qi. Ning Fan withdrew his essence Qi and stood up. Then he shook his head helplessly. Returning to the primordial Qi was extremely time-consuming. Although he was able to break through to the revered devil realm, he did not have enough time to return his essence to the primordial Qi. The 5 elements have been perfected. I've gained quite a lot from this first test. Just as Ning Fan was thinking about that, the metal passage suddenly shook violently. A ray of golden light flashed and Ning Fan was immediately teleported out of the metal passage. Similarly, the mystic flame was teleported out of the fire passageway. My husband has been teleported out. Hee. Looks like Sister Hong Yi has succeeded in passing the trial. The little demon girl giggled. In the Bronze Palace, the originally closed giant gate was slowly opening. On the other side of the giant gate, Hong Yi's pretty face was cold. She said indifferently to everyone, "The metal trial has been broken. Let's go to the next trial." Damn it. I was obviously just a little bit away from breaking the fire trial. Mystic Flame's expression was a little indignant. No one knew if what he said was true or not. Ning Fan did not believe that the Mystic Flame could break the fire trial. Mystic Flame's cultivation base was just at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. There must be many fire beasts in the fire trial. Most of them were at the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. This trial was not something that the Mystic Flame could break. Hong Yi breaking the trial was within Ning Fan's expectation. Sister Hong Yi is really amazing. Little Fan, let's go to the next trial. Hidozi will be going first. The little demoness grabbed Ning Fan's hand and pulled him into the giant door. Shirshio's expression changed. Then he smiled at the Mystic Flame. Fellow Taoist Mystic Flame, you don't have to worry about it. Isn't it the same no matter who breaks the trial? As long as we can break the 5 ancient trials and obtain the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting, it will be enough, isn't it? You're right, those. The group of them followed Ning Fan and the others into the giant gate. Behind the giant gate was a scarlet copper palace. After everyone entered the scarlet copper palace, the giant gate of the palace was closed. On the other side of the palace, there was also a giant gate made of scarlet copper. Beside the giant door, there were 4 smaller doors of light, each of which was of a different color: green, white, red, black. The second trial of the ancient times is called the 4 Symbols Pass. In the 4 Symbols Pass, there are the illusionary spirits of the 4 beasts: the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. This trial can only be broken by force. As soon as the little demon girl finished speaking, she looked at Ning Fan and then at Hong Yi. Finally, she looked at Hishirshio and said with a meaningful smile. This trial needs to be broken by force. Originally, it should be broken by those with a higher cultivation base as they would have a higher chance of winning. However, little Fan Fan is so powerful. It should be easy for him to break the Azure Dragon Pass. Sister Hong Yi has just broken the first trial and she needs to take a good rest. If he Daozi is willing, you can also take a rest in the Scarlet Copper Palace. No need. There are also people on our side who are breaking the trial. Who knows, they might be faster than fellow Daoist Ning. Fellow Daoist Gong Yangzi, how about you break the Vermilion Bird Pass? Hishirshio said with a smile. Alright. I have the feather slashing sword in my hand. It won't be difficult for me to break the Vermilion Bird Pass. Gong Yangzi said confidently. He was called the Sword Demon in the Sword World. Apart from his treacherous and ruthless character, it was also because he had the feather slashing sword, which was very destructive to the demon beasts of the bird race. He could even fight against a winged demon at the 5 Shattering Realm. If he were to fight against a winged demon at the 4 Shattering Realm, he could kill it with a single strike. Gong Yangzi did not say much. He turned into a ray of light and flew into the Vermilion Bird Gate. Not long after he entered, a miserable shriek came from inside the light gate. Then, Gong Yangzi rushed out with his face covered in blood. The feather slashing sword was broken into 2. I can't beat it. I can't beat it. There's a vermilion bird at the 8 Shattering Realm inside the gate. Gong Yangzi said with a frightened expression. 8 Shattering Vermilion Bird. Hishirshio's eyes widened. Then he shook his head and said, since it's an 8 Shattering Vermilion Bird, it's reasonable for fellow Daoist Gong Yangzi to be defeated. You don't have to worry about it. How could Hishirshio not worry about it even though he said so? Out of the 3 helpers he invited, 2 of them were not of any help. One of them spent a month in the Fire Pass without breaking through while the other one was blasted out by the 8 Shattering Vermilion Bird in the Vermilion Bird Pass. It seems like I'll have to rely on the people on the little demoness side if I want to break through the 4 Symbols Pass. Hong Yi's full strength was enough to defeat the 8 Shattering Ferocious Beasts. She was an expert in the Tao of Lightning. Lightning was of the metal attribute and metal was the bane of wood. The Azure Dragon was of the wood attribute. She had a great chance of breaking through the Azure Dragon Pass. I'll take action and break through the Azure Dragon Pass. Hong Yi gently moved sideways and shielded him behind her. Her actions were very skillful. When she was still his companion, she had been taking care of him and protecting him every day. She was already used to it. She did not know that he had a dragon subduing treasure. At first, she thought that the demon beasts in the 4 Symbols Pass would at most be at the 5 Shattering Realm or 6 Shattering Realm. Even if Ning Fan enters the Azure Dragon Pass, he would still be able to put up a fight. After Gong Yangzi found out the true cultivation base of the Vermilion Bird, Hong Yi naturally would not let Ning Fan face the 8 Shattering Azure Dragon. That would be courting death. She would not watch Ning Fan die. Don't worry, Sister Hong Yi. Little Fan Fan is very capable. You don't know this, but he has already killed 4 loose demon yellow dragons. A mere 8 Shattering Azure Dragon is nothing to him. The little demon girl giggled and explained. He killed 4 loose demon yellow dragons? Hong Yi's blood-red eyes were slightly shocked. She did not believe it. Loose demons were already the peak experts in the 9 worlds. Even in the demon world, there were only 3 of them. Ning Fan's cultivation base was only at the 2nd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. How could he have the strength to kill a loose demon? Even though Hong Yi knew that Ning Fan was strong, she could not believe that he could kill a loose demon. After all, it sounded too absurd. It was as absurd as a harmonious spirit realm cultivator killing a void fragmentation realm cultivator. Don't worry. I'll be back soon. Ning Fan flashed a smile at Hong Yi with some gratitude. Even though this lady pretended to be cold, she had been secretly protecting him. How could he not see it? Ning Fan's body swayed and turned into a ray of black light, flying into the Azure Dragon Light Gate. Inside the Light Gate was a battlefield with towering ancient trees. Each of the ancient trees was so tall that they reached the sky. In the forest, there was an illusory 8-shattering azure dragon. That azure dragon was 400,000 zhang in size. As soon as it saw Ning Fan entering the gate, its eyes flashed with a hint of disdain. Too shattering, that it roared at the sky. Its aura force swept across the area, breaking countless ancient trees. It looked at Ning Fan as if it was looking at a dead man. It was an 8-shattering azure dragon while Ning Fan was a 2-shattering azure dragon. Naturally, it would not put Ning Fan in its eyes. However, at the next moment, an extremely sharp purple ray of light easily penetrated its dragon body, shattering the demon core inside its body. It stared at Ning Fan with disbelief and fear. Then, it fell headfirst into the dense forest. Ning Fan held the Tai Gong fishing rod in his hand. Looking at the azure dragon that could not even withstand a single blow, he sighed. So what if the dragon was at the 8-shattering realm? If I encounter my nemesis, I might still die even if my cultivation base is much higher than my opponent. The more powerful the dragons that Ning Fan killed, the more cautious he became. He did not have any arrogance or complacency. He could rely on the ability of the Tai Gong fishing rod to kill dragons who were at a higher level than him. It was hard to guarantee that no one could kill him with a secret treasure. On the path of cultivation, the last thing one should do was to underestimate one's opponent. Zili, this azure dragon is for you to eat? Remember to eat it elegantly. Ning Fan kept the dragon blood into the blood gourd and shook his cauldron ring to summon Nieli. Then, he gave a good dragon corpse to Nieli to devour. Nieli's purple eyes were stunned. It seemed like she did not understand Ning Fan's order. Eat elegantly? What does eating elegantly mean? As if he saw Nieli's doubt, Ning Fan added. It means don't chew the corpse in big mouthfuls. Use your demon power to refine the dragon corpse before eating it. Just eat the essence. Shriek, Zili let out a low cry obediently and breathed out streams of purplish-black qi at the dragon corpse. Gradually, the dragon corpse disappeared and was replaced by a green light pearl. It was the essence of the corpse that was refined from the dragon corpse. Nieli swallowed the green light pearl in one gulp and looked at Ning Fan in satisfaction. His eyes were filled with endless gratitude. If I feed you more corpses of experts at the 7th, 8th and 9th break realm, you will break through to the 7th break realm sooner, right? Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. He kept Nieli back into his storage pouch and slowly walked out of the azure dragon light door. From the time he killed the azure dragon to when Nieli devoured the corpse and returned to the Scarlet Copper Palace, it had only taken him less than 100 breaths. The door of the Scarlet Copper Palace was slowly opening. When Hong Yi saw this scene and Ning Fan walking out unscathed, her blood-red eyes flashed with a hint of astonishment. How did you do it? What she wanted to ask was, of course, how did Ning Fan surpass the 6th heavenly layer and kill the 8-break azure dragon? I have a treasure that specializes in dealing with the dragon race. Ning Fan did not hide anything from her. After all, there were quite a number of people who knew about it, right? You should have told me earlier. Hong Yi frowned. She was actually a little angry. She was worried about Ning Fan for nothing. Ning Fan actually did not tell her about this technique in advance. Let's go to the next stage. She took the lead and stepped into the giant scarlet copper door. Ning Fan was stunned. He did not understand why Hong Yi was angry. The little demoness, on the other hand, looked at Hong Yi playfully and then at Ning Fan. She stood on her tiptoes and moved her face close to Ning Fan's ear. She breathed out a fragrant breath and teased him. Does she like you too? My good husband. Without waiting for Ning Fan's answer, she directly followed Hong Yi into the next palace. Ning Fan shook his head and did not take her words to heart. He did not think that the dignified and arrogant Thunder Sovereign Buzhou would like him. He followed closely behind the little demoness and entered the next palace. He Shirshio and the others also stepped through the giant door. After everyone entered, the giant scarlet copper door closed. The third palace was the Black Copper Palace. At the other end of the palace, there was a giant black copper door. Beside the giant door, there were only 2 smaller doors made of light. One was black and the other was white. The third stage of the ancient times, the stage of yin and yang. Isn't yin and yang the same as yin and yang? There's nothing much to explain. Hee, be a good fan, take out your yin-yang Dragon Ball. This round, it's up to you. Chapter 665. Ning Fan nodded and walked towards the two light doors alone. He stared at the black and white doors silently with a slight frown on his face. After a long time, he raised his hand and pointed at them. The two light doors flashed and disappeared. A third light door appeared in its place. It was intertwined with black and white light. So this is the real light door to pass the third test. Little Demonist's black eyes were solemn. From the looks of it, the two light doors at the beginning were fake. If one wasn't a cultivator who had just comprehended the yin-yang realm, they wouldn't be able to see the true passageway of this test. At least, Little Demonist and Hong Yi couldn't see it. As for He Shirshio and the others, they couldn't see it at all. He Shirshio and the others' eyes changed. If Ning Fan wasn't here, they would definitely enter one of the fake black and white doors. The consequences of entering the fake door would most likely be very dangerous. Ning Fan didn't say much. He patted his storage pouch and two black and white lights flew out from it. They turned into Yin Pearl and Yang Pearl and circled around Ning Fan's body. Ning Fan stepped into the third light door and walked down the passageway. When he reached the end of the passageway, a chaotic void suddenly appeared in front of him. The void was filled with black and white stars, giving Ning Fan an extremely dangerous feeling. The white stars were moving along their paths while the black stars were hovering in the air. Each of the white stars contained a trace of yang power while the black stars contained yin power. Ning Fan could see some clues. If he stepped into the void, he would immediately be attacked by all the stars. These stars weren't huge, but if they fell down, they would probably have the power of the 8 shattering strike. The reason why it was so powerful was because the stars here contained yin and yang power. At the end of the void, there was an exit. Once he passed through it, he would be considered to have passed the test. From the entrance to the exit, there were a total of 49 golden lotus seats for people to stand on. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. If he didn't have the yin-yang Dragon Pearl to protect him, he really wouldn't dare to go through this test. But now, he could give it a try. He took a step into the void and leaped onto the first lotus seat. Among the stars in the sky, a white star immediately fell from the sky. The impact was enough to severely injure a 7-break cultivator and kill a 6-break cultivator. Without saying a word, he lifted his finger and pointed at the white star. The Yang Pearl immediately turned into a ray of white light and shot towards the white star. As the Dragon Pearl and the star collided, a few cracks appeared on the star and it was sent flying, but it continued to fall. Ning Fan flicked his finger again and controlled the Yang Pearl to continuously attack the star. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he finally shattered the star. After destroying the star, a trace of yang power flowed into his body. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. However, he immediately sat down cross-legged and began to refine the yang power. After a long time, the yang power was completely refined. Ning Fan's magical power increased by 1 yuan hui and his yin-yang transformation cultivation method also improved a little. I didn't know there would be such a benefit after shattering the stars here, but it's too time-consuming to shatter a star. Ning Fan stood up and leaped onto the second lotus throne. As soon as he took a step forward, 2 black stars fell from the sky. It seemed that every time he reached the next lotus platform, there would be an additional star attacking him. Ning Fan immediately activated the Yin Pearl to counter the attack. After the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn, he managed to destroy 2 stars and obtain 2 traces of Yin power. When he stepped onto the third lotus throne, 3 white stars fell from the sky. When he stepped onto the 4th lotus throne, 4 black stars fell from the sky. When he arrived at the 8th lotus throne, he had already destroyed 36 stars. 1 day had passed. On the 2nd day, Ning Fan reached the 11th lotus throne. On the 3rd day, Ning Fan reached the 14th lotus throne. On the 4th day, Ning Fan reached the 16th lotus throne. On the 5th day, Ning Fan reached the 18th lotus throne. The further he went, the more stars would attack him at the same time. Ning Fan's speed became slower and slower. On average, he could only walk past 2 lotus thrones every day. On the 10th day, Ning Fan reached the 30th lotus throne. From now on, there were too many stars that Ning Fan needed to deal with. Hence, he could only walk past 1 lotus throne every day. 1 month later, Ning Fan reached the exit of the void space. All the stars in the sky had been destroyed by him. He had destroyed a total of 1,225 stars. His magic power had increased by 1,000 yuan hui. His cultivation method of the yin-yang transformation had also reached the 3rd level of the 3rd layer. The moment he walked out of the exit of the passage, the giant door of the Black Copper Palace opened. Ning Fan sighed with emotion. Without the protection of the yin-yang dragon pearl, he certainly would not dare to face the attacks of any of the stars head-on. Moreover, the chance of passing this trial was really slim. My husband really didn't let me down. The 3rd trial is so difficult, but you still managed to pass it. The little demoness purposely looked at Ning Fan with eyes full of admiration. Ning Fan shook his head helplessly and ignored her. His eyes swept across the 4th palace. The 4th palace was a purple copper palace. Beside the giant purple copper door, there were 2 light doors. Both of them were purple in color. Purple mist could be seen lingering in the light doors. This is the 4th trial of the ancient times, the trial of 7 emotions and 6 desires. The light door on the left is the 7 emotions light door, while the light door on the right is the 6 desires light door. Jiha's heart is pure and clear. Moreover, she is born with a bewitching physique. Her resistance to desires is much stronger than others. So she's here. Forget it. None of us have absolute confidence in passing this trial. Since that's the case, let's go and challenge it together. It's fine as long as one of us can pass it. Hidozi, your person will go through the trial of 6 desires while mine will go through the trial of 7 emotions. What do you think? The little demoness sighed and said, All right. I happen to have a treasure that can block evil desires from entering my body. Challenging the trial of 6 desires is exactly what I want. He Shirshio did not say anything else. He led Gong Yangzi, Mysterious Flame and Yunyomu into the light door of the 6 desires pass. The little demoness and Hong Yi entered the 7 emotions light door one after another. This purple mist is somewhat similar to the purple mist on the 10 steps bridge. However, it's not the same at all. It's even more evil. Can this purple mist also make people fall into illusions? Ning Fan pondered and stepped into the 7 emotions light door. At the end of the passage was a wooden bridge. At the end of the bridge was the exit of this trial. The surroundings of the wooden bridge were filled with purple mist. This purple mist indeed had the ability to induce illusions. When Ning Fan arrived at the end of the wooden bridge, he was surprised to find that Hong Yi and the little demoness were standing at the center of the bridge. The 2 women's eyes turned a faint purple. Both of them looked like they were in extreme pain. Hong Yi did not know what kind of illusion she had seen. She bit her lower lip with her silver teeth, causing blood to flow out. Her delicate body could not help but tremble. It was unknown what the little demoness had seen. Her face turned pale and her eyes were filled with tears. Who had never crossed the 10 steps bridge? Who had never experienced the purple mist on the 10 steps bridge? However, the 10 steps bridge was only designed for spirit-severing realm cultivators. The purple mist here was specially designed to deal with void fragmentation realm cultivators. Its power was even more terrifying. Even they have been invaded by the illusion. Their sea of consciousness is crumbling bit by bit under the attack of the purple mist. If I don't find a way to wake them up, they will be in danger. Ning Fan took a step onto the wooden bridge and walked towards the 2 girls. When he arrived behind the 2 girls, before he could wake them up, countless purple mists suddenly invaded his sea of consciousness, invaded his Tao heart, and invaded his soul. All of a sudden, he lost control of his body as if he was petrified. Have I lost control of my body? Ning Fan had always been calm and composed. Even when he was controlled by the purple mist, he did not panic. Just as he was thinking of a way to get rid of the purple mist, A cold sword cultivator that was formed from the purple mist suddenly flew up from the bottom of the wooden bridge and slashed at Hong Yi. That cold sword cultivator's cultivation base had actually reached the immortal emperor realm. His chi gave Ning Fan a feeling that he could not win against him. It was as if the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Why is there such an expert here? Hong Yi, get away. Ning Fan exerted all of his strength to break free from the purple mist's control. He leaped into the air and held little Demonis and Hong Yi with his left and right hands respectively, retreating rapidly. The purple mist sword cultivator snorted disdainfully. You can't escape. Sword sense lockdown. That person released his purple sword sense. Patches of the vast sky were immediately sealed by him. Ning Fan had nowhere to run. Without saying a word, Ning Fan brought the two girls into the Yuan Yao world. The Yuan Yao world was a small kiliacosm. Even an ordinary immortal emperor might not be able to blast it open. However, Ning Fan had underestimated the strength of this purple mist sword cultivator. The purple mist sword cultivator smiled coldly. With a slash of his sword, the Yuan Yao world was split into two. Ning Fan, Hong Yi, Little Demonis and Mu Weiliang's green coffin all fell out from the Yuan Yao world. As for the Yuan Yao jade between Ning Fan's fingers, it was broken into two. This person is actually strong enough to blast open a small kiliacosm. Ning Fan's expression changed drastically. He had never been as nervous as he was at this moment. If he was the only one here, he would not be afraid of an immortal emperor even if he was weak. However, he was not the only one here. Lock. The purple mist sword cultivator casually pointed at Ning Fan, locking him on the spot. He could no longer activate any of his magic power. The aura force of an immortal emperor was released. Ning Fan was immediately suppressed on the wooden bridge like a dead dog. He could not move at all. He did not even have the strength to resist. It was all because the purple mist sword cultivator was an immortal emperor and he was too weak. Who are you? You're asking me who I am? I'm the one who killed your entire family. This woman is not bad. She cultivates the Tao of Lightning and she even has half of the lightning star of Lightning Emperor Tai Su. Is she someone important to you? The purple mist immortal emperor looked at Ning Fan with a faint smile. Ning Fan did not speak. He could not figure out what this person was thinking. Judging from his tone, he seemed to be extremely hostile towards him. If he admits that Hong Yi is important to him, he might implicate her. Oh, she's not important to you? Then I'll kill her. By the way, let me tell you a piece of news that you don't know. She is Ning Honghong. The purple mist immortal emperor swung his sword horizontally and slashed at Hong Yi's neck. At this moment, Hong Yi was still immersed in the illusion. She did not realize that she was facing a great danger. Even if she realized it, how could she avoid the attack of an immortal emperor? Ning Fan's eyes were bloodshot. He had suspected that Hong Yi was Ning Honghong, but he could not prove his speculation. He did not expect that Hong Yi was really Ning Honghong who had gone through thick and thin with him in the demon sinister forest. He wanted to resist the aura force of the immortal emperor and get up from the wooden bridge. However, the more he resisted, the heavier the aura force became. His bones were crushed and his sea of consciousness was crushed. Even his primordial spirit was almost dead from the pressure. The skin on his body cracked and blood flowed out, dyeing his white robes red. However, he could not move at all. I can't get up. I can't get up. The weak can't protect anything. Qi the sword light cut through Hong Yi's neck. The sword qi passed through the wound and wreaked havoc inside her body, mincing her primordial spirit into pieces. Hong Yi finally regained her consciousness. She could not believe that she was going to die. She glared at the purple mist immortal emperor angrily. Then, she turned her head and looked at Ning Fan reluctantly. Her eyes seemed to have something to say. However, when she opened her mouth, no words came out. Her corpse fell on the wooden bridge. Who are you? Who exactly are you? Ning Fan seemed to have lost his mind. Since he started cultivating, he had risked his life to prevent any woman behind him from dying on the path of cultivation. Today, however, Hong Yi died in front of him and he could not even hug her corpse. I'm the person who killed your entire family. Ha. This lady is not bad. She has the void physique and cultivates the void scripture. She's from the godly void pavilion, right? Is she important to you? The purple mist immortal emperor looked at Ning Fan mockingly. What exactly do you want? I want to kill her. The purple mist immortal emperor sneered. With a wave of his sword light, he left a beautiful wound on the little demoness's neck. The little demon girl's body drew a beautiful arc in the air as she fell onto the wooden bridge. Before she died, she no longer had the slightest smile on her face. She just stared at Ning Fan reluctantly. She was reluctant to part with him. It was as if he was the only person she had left in her life. Her beautiful eyes that were like black gemstones gradually dimmed and eventually lost their luster. She seems to have feelings for you, but you don't know it. Perhaps you won't feel heartache when she dies. The purple mist immortal emperor said sarcastically. Ning Fan was stunned. He never knew that the little demoness had feelings for him. He was even more clueless as to why the little demon girl was staring at him with such a longing gaze. She kept staring at him. His heart suddenly felt empty. His eyes turned blood red and his body turned black all of a sudden. When the black shadow dispersed, he had already disappeared. When the black shadow condensed again, he had already appeared behind the purple mist immortal emperor and madly rushed towards him. You deserve to die. The incarnation of immortal emperor Tai Chang's soul. The purple mist immortal emperor just casually pointed his finger, but it seemed to be able to make the entire heaven and earth collapse. Under the finger, Ning Fan's incarnation returned to his white-robed body and fell on the wooden bridge with a weak breath. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and guilt. This corpse devil doesn't seem to be bad. She actually has the bloodline of the heaven emperors. She seems to be very important to you, right? Stop right now. Ning Fan roared and struggled to get up from the ground. He angrily rushed towards the purple mist immortal emperor and protected the green coffin behind him. The purple mist immortal emperor just flicked his sleeve and an unimaginable force hit Ning Fan's chest, causing him to spurt out blood and half kneel on the ground. One sword slashed open the green coffin. Another sword slashed towards the sleeping Mu Wei-Yang. Kneel down and beg me. Then I will let her go. What do you think? The purple mist immortal emperor looked at Ning Fan disdainfully. Ning Fan's eyes gradually calmed down. He glanced at the green coffin and closed his eyes silently. In his previous life, he was a butterfly and it was Mu Wei-Yang who saved him from death. No matter what, he could not watch Mu Wei-Yang die. Even if he had to give up his dignity, honor, cultivation base, and even if he had to lose his Tao in life, he would still protect her. He bent his knees and was about to kneel down. However, the purple mist immortal emperor sneered. I'm lying to you. A ray of sword light flashed. Mu Wei-Yang's body was immediately severely injured and she was on the verge of death. Who are you? Who are you? I must kill you. I must kill you. Ning Fan felt as if his soul had been sucked out. Tears of blood flowed out of his eyes. The purple mist immortal emperor laughed loudly as if he was very happy. Then, his figure flashed and he left. Only a sneer that was full of sarcasm reverberated in this world. How can you understand life and death without experiencing it? I will give you a fortune. I will let you watch your lover die in your arms bit by bit. I will help you understand life and death and achieve the supreme immortal path. Ha! Speaking of which, I am your benefactor since I killed 3 of your women. Ning Fan's strength seemed to have been sucked out. He walked towards Mu Wei-Yang who was on the verge of death. His robes were tattered and he stepped on the broken pieces of the green coffin with his bare feet. The broken pieces of the coffin still carried the sword chi of the old man. They pierced Ning Fan's feet and made him bleed. However, he did not feel any pain. He sat beside Mu Wei-Yang and held her body which was gradually turning cold in his arms. She was still sleeping soundly. She did not realize that she was about to die again. After she dies this time, I'm afraid that I won't have a chance to revive anymore. Ning Fan was like a puppet. He watched Mu Wei-Yang die bit by bit. He did not know how long he had been sitting on the wooden bridge. Mu Weiliang's body had already turned cold. He closed his eyes and tears flowed out of them. When he opened his eyes, his vision gradually became clear. So this is the illusion of the fourth test. I have already been deeply immersed in it. I didn't realize it until now. No wonder Hong Yi is in so much pain. No wonder the little demoness would shed tears. They probably also saw an illusion that they didn't want to see. Break! Ning Fan lifted his hand and pointed at the sky. The entire world suddenly shattered like glass. He was still standing on the wooden bridge. The purple mist in his eyes gradually became faint. Hong Yi and the little demoness who were in front of him were still immersed in their own illusions. Ning Fan slowly walked across the wooden bridge. The purple mist around him could no longer make him fall into the illusion. He walked across the wooden bridge step by step and reached the exit of the passage. At the moment he walked out of the next hall, the purple mist of the 7 emotions and 6 desires completely dissipated. The little demoness and Hong Yi regained their consciousness. In the 6 desires test, He Shirshio and the others who were immersed in their desires and laughing mischievously regained their senses. As soon as they saw each other's ugly behavior, their faces turned red with shame. The 4th test of the immemorial realm has been broken. Let's go to the next test. Ning Fan's tone was cold. Although it was just an illusion, however, he would rather die than to see such a scene again. The little demoness wiped her tears and remained silent. Hong Yi's lips were still bleeding. She was not in a good mood either. The 7 emotions and 6 desires test. This is really a terrifying power. Everyone in the world has emotions. Even immortals can't be emotionless. The most they can do is to forget their emotions. However, it doesn't mean that they are emotionless. There might be people who are emotionless in this world. However, if they are truly emotionless, they would not be able to forget their emotions and cultivate to the peak of the Tao. Emotions are a terrifying power. The people who control emotions are even more terrifying. Everyone entered the 5th hall. It was a large hall made of brass. Beside the giant brass door, there was only a door of light. It was also half black and half white. The little demoness recited the void scripture in silence and regained some of her mood. Then, she asked Ning Fan with a smile, "What illusion did my husband see in the 4th test? What did you see again?" Ning Fan retorted angrily. "I saw you. I didn't see anything. What did big sister Hong Yi see? I saw that you were beaten to death by your future husband because you talked too much." Hong Yi replied angrily. "So scary. My husband is actually a violent maniac. Little Fan, you are really scary." After the little demoness interfered, Ning Fan and Hong Yi's mood became slightly better. Seeing that, the little demoness nodded her head and pointed at the black and white door of light. The 5th test of the immemorial realm is the test of life and death. Let's break through this test together. All right, fellow Taoist Yun, this time, it's up to you. Your Tao line of life and death technique should be able to be of some use in this test. He Shirshio looked at Yun Yomu with eyes filled with anticipation. Hong Yi was the one who broke the test of the 5 elements. The 4 symbols, yin and yang, the 7 emotions and 6 desires were all broken by Ning Fan. The helpers that the little demoness invited were all in the limelight while the helpers that he invited were all useless. In this last test, he could only hope that Yun Yomu would be of some use and help him gain some reputation. It's already the last test. Once we pass this test, we can open the door of the forbidden area and obtain the immemorial fisherman's Mino. He Shirshio's eyes were filled with excitement. Chapter 666. Yun Yomu let out a long sigh. He had only learned the surface of the Tao lines of life and death. His understanding of life and death was extremely shallow. Thus, he was not confident that he could pass the test at all. If he had not witnessed the power of the 5 tests, he would still have some confidence in passing them. However, after witnessing the power of the first few tests, his confidence had long been crushed. He knew very well that the 5 tests were not a place that a mere destruction realm cultivator like him should be able to enter. Even Gong Yangzi, Xianhua and He Shishio were not people who could pass the tests. The hope of passing the test was probably on Ning Fan, Hong Yi and the little demoness. As soon as they entered the passage of life and death, the 7 of them were immediately teleported to different places. This test was filled with gray mist. The mist seemed to have the effect of blocking spirit sense. It was unknown how long it would take to pass through the mist and reach the place where the test would be passed. Perhaps it would be a few days or a few months. Ning Fan walked in the mist. After a few breaths, he suddenly stopped and his expression changed slightly. Dao poison! There's Dao poison in this mist. Dao poison was a unique poison that could only be defended against with Dao power. The Dao poison in this place was the Dao poison of life and death. Only by using the power of life and death to protect oneself could one defend against this poison. As soon as Ning Fan noticed the Dao poison in this place, he stomped on the ground without hesitation. Immediately, 500 traces of black and white qi flew around his body. It was the power of life and death extracted from the Dao marks of life and death on his primordial spirit. With the protection of this Dao power, the mist immediately dispersed a little. The Dao poison could no longer harm him. Fortunately, Ning Fan discovered it early and used his Dao power to protect himself in time. His body was not poisoned by the Dao poison of life and death. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. If he is poisoned by the Dao poison of life and death, he would certainly die within 1,000 years. Unless an immortal emperor intervenes, there would be no way to save him. The little demoness was also teleported away. Her comprehension of the Dao of life and death was higher than Ning Fan's. She already had 2,800 traces of the Dao marks of life and death. Thus, she discovered the abnormality of the mist faster than Ning Fan. After summoning 2,800 traces of black and white qi to protect herself, she did not look relaxed at all. Instead, she looked a little worried. I didn't expect that the Dao poison of life and death would be like this. If I knew this earlier, I shouldn't have little Fan to pass the test. Hong Yi discovered the Dao poison almost at the same time as Ning Fan. She summoned 600 traces of black and white qi to protect herself. Her aptitude was the best in the Rain World and even the 9 worlds. If she hadn't been harmed by the Rain Emperor, she might have already reached the peak stage of the 9th Shatterer stage after 10,000 years of bitter cultivation. Dying once was not without its benefits. She had died once, so she naturally had a unique understanding of life and death. With the protection of the power of life and death, she was not afraid of the Dao poison. However, there was also a trace of worry in his ice-cold blood-red eyes. Does he have a way to block the poison? He Shishio's side was much more miserable. He Shishio's perception of life and death was close to 0. Gong Yangzi and Mystic Flame's perception was basically 0. The 3 of them were teleported away. Looking at the fog in front of them, they sneered. I didn't expect the 5th stage to be so simple. There's only a mere mist blocking the way. In this way, finding the exit would take a lot of time, but there would be no danger. This trial is easy to pass. The 3 of them did not know that when they were sneering, their bodies had unknowingly been infected with Dao poison. Yun Yomu's eyes were filled with shock and regret. After walking for a very, very long distance, he vaguely felt that something was wrong with his body. When he examined his body, he suddenly realized that he had been poisoned by the Dao poison of life and death unknowingly. He hurriedly summoned 2 traces of black qi and white qi to protect his body. His expression was extremely unpleasant. It's too late. It's too late. This trial is really vicious. Do I only have 1,000 years left to live? Ning Fan passed through the mist all the way. 3 months later, he finally found the exit in the mist. The little demoness and Hong Yi also arrived at the same time. They arrived at the exit almost at the same time. After passing through the mist, the number of Dao marks on their primordial spirits had increased to 10 to 20. It could be considered as a good harvest. The number of Dao marks of life and death that Ning Fan had now reached 520. Seeing that Ning Fan was safe and sound, the little demoness secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Hong Yi's blood-red eyes flickered slightly, but she did not say anything. Ning Fan also felt slightly relieved when he saw that the 2 of them were unharmed. The three of them walked out of the exit together. All of a sudden, the mist in the fifth stage disappeared completely. Shershio and the others who were already close to the exit saw the mist disappear. They knew that the fifth stage had been passed by someone again. When he saw that it was Ning Fan and the others who had passed the stage, Shershio's face twitched. He and his companions had actually become bystanders again. Ning Fan glanced at Shershio and the others and sighed inwardly. This group of people had been poisoned by the Dao poison, but they still did not know about it. No, it was not that everyone did not know about it. At least Yun Yomu knew about it. Yun Yomu's eyes were unfocused and he was in a daze. He had been poisoned by the Dao poison. If no immortal emperors were to save him, he would only have 1,000 years left to live. Where can I find an immortal emperor in 1,000 years? Forget it. Forget it. This is fate. I can't force it. Fellow Taoist Yun, you don't have to be depressed. It doesn't matter who passes the fifth stage. Shershio comforted Yun Yomu hypocritically. He just thought that Yun Yomu's expression was unpleasant because he failed to pass the stage. Even though he was comforting him verbally, he was inwardly cursing Yun Yomu, Gong Yangzi, Xianhua and the others. What a bunch of useless people. If I knew that these people are useless, I would have recruited them from the very beginning. Hong Yi looked at Shershio and the others and shook her head gently without saying anything. The little demoness looked at Shershio and the others. Her expression changed slightly, but she did not say anything. The 5 stages of the primordial era had been broken. All that was left was to open the gate of the Forbidden Land and obtain the primordial fisherman's Mino. After exiting the 5th stage, there was a long bronze tunnel that led straight to the underground. At the end of the tunnel, there was a 500,000 feet tall bronze gate. There were 6 keyholes on the gate and it could only be opened with the shedding orchid key. I'm ashamed that I didn't do anything along the way. Leave the matter of blasting open the giant door to me. The reason why I came a month late was to ask the elders of my sect to refine this item. This is an immortal talisman, restriction-breaking talisman. 1 talisman is enough to break open the restriction of a life-immortal mansion and the gate. Shershio smiled gently and took out an immortal talisman with green light flowing around it. The little demoness glanced at the immortal talisman but did not say anything. She nodded and signaled Shershio to break the stage. However, she was speechless. Shershio didn't know that he had been poisoned by the Dao poison and was still showing off. Hold on. This restriction-breaking talisman is also a precious item. If you don't have to use it, don't use it. The gate of this forbidden land can only be opened with 6 shedding orchid keys. Hidozi has 3 keys while Miss Xiao has 2. I also have 1. Isn't it better to open the door with the keys? As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a bronze key from his storage pouch. When she saw that the last key was actually with him, the little demoness could not help but be stunned. Then she looked at him with a smile. Her eyes seemed to be saying something. The actions of the successor of ancient chaos are indeed unexpected. The last key is actually with you? You're indeed worthy of being my little fan. Hong Yi's expression did not change much. She was not concerned about how to open the door. It was enough as long as she could get the picture. Shershio's smile immediately froze on his face. His face turned green and red. Is Ning Fan not even going to give me the credit of opening the door of the Forbidden Land? Forget it. Let's open the door and get the picture. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Ning to have the last shedding orchid key. Great. This is really great. Since that's the case, let's use the key to open the door of the Forbidden Land. Shershio took out 3 shedding orchid keys from his storage pouch. With a flick of his finger, he inserted the 3 keys into the corresponding keyholes. The little demoness also took out her key. With a flick of her finger, she inserted the key into the corresponding keyhole. Ning Fan raised his hand and summoned the shedding orchid key. The key automatically flew into the last keyhole. When all 6 keys were inserted into the keyholes, the door of the Forbidden Land opened with a rumbling sound. Inside the Forbidden Land, what entered their sight was a vast land of ice and snow. 1,000 li of the land was covered in ice and snow was drifting in the air. The Forbidden Land was just too vast. They could not see the end of it at all. After entering the Forbidden Land, they had been flying for a few days, but they still could not see the end of the Forbidden Land. They also could not find the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting. He faintly felt that something was wrong with this place. As for what was wrong, he could not put his finger on it. The little demoness and Hong Yi also frowned. They felt that something was not right. Little Fanfan, I have a bad premonition. I feel that we should leave this Forbidden Land as soon as possible. The little demoness said with a solemn expression. I also have the same premonition. The mountains and snow here don't seem to have any vitality. It's as if they were drawn. Hong Yi said with a frown. It's drawn. Ning Fan was startled. He seemed to have thought of a possibility. He landed at the foot of the snowy mountain and began to investigate a nearby snowy mountain. As soon as he did so, his eyes darkened. Sure enough, we won't be able to find the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting if we continue walking like this. The moment we stepped into the Forbidden Land, we were sucked into the painting. Everything we see is the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting. What? We were actually sucked into the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting? How is this possible? He Shirshio exclaimed in surprise. Why is it impossible? The immemorial fisherman's Mino painting is a supreme treasure that controls the life and death of those who are sucked into it. Look at this snowy mountain. It's still white now. This is life. When the white color completely turns black, it means death. At that time, no one will be able to live except for me. In a few hours, all of you will die in the painting. This voice suddenly resounded without any warning. Even Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. On an icy lake not far away, an old man wearing a white bamboo hat and straw cape was sitting alone on a fishing boat. He was fishing on the surface of the lake. No one knew when he had been fishing in this place. However, no one could discover him. His cultivation base had already surpassed the Rogue Immortal Realm and reached the Life Immortal Realm. Life Immortal Realm. Why is there a Life Immortal Realm cultivator hiding in this place? Let's go. He Shirshio, Gong Yangzi and Xian Ho's expressions changed. They turned around and wanted to flee. Yun Yomu's eyes flashed. He also prepared to flee. From their point of view, a Life Immortal Realm cultivator who appeared in this place was most likely an enemy. Ning Fan, however, did not flee. If this Life Immortal Realm cultivator is an enemy, running away would be useless. Moreover, Ning Fan did not sense any killing intent from this person. He did not seem to be hostile. Ning Fan was the first to land on the shore of the icy lake. He cupped his fists and greeted the person. Junior Ning Fan greets Senior. Hong Yi and the little demoness also landed on the ground. However, they just stood behind Ning Fan and greeted the person without saying anything. You kids do have some guts. Those few people are much weaker. The white-robed fisherman pointed at He Shirshio and the others and said disdainfully. He Shirshio's face turned pale. He was a little displeased. However, he did not dare to show it in front of the Life Immortal Realm cultivator. He was afraid that he would be killed here if he offends this person. I don't know what Senior meant just now. I don't understand. Ning Fan asked. You don't understand? In that case, this old man will explain it again. From the moment you stepped into the forbidden area, you have been sucked into the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting. You can no longer get out. In a few hours, another black-robed Life Immortal Realm cultivator will come to kill you. Black-robed Life Immortal Realm cultivator? Ning Fan's expression changed. He did not expect that there would be a second Life Immortal Realm cultivator in this place. He Shirshio and the others' expressions changed greatly. They did not expect that they would not be able to leave after entering this place. They did not expect that a black-robed Life Immortal Realm cultivator would come to kill them in a few hours. Why did things turn out like this? They had already passed the 5 trials of the ancient times and opened the door to the forbidden area. However, they had fallen into a hopeless situation when they reached the step of obtaining the painting. What should they do? That black-robed Life Immortal Realm cultivator is different from me. He is ruthless and he cultivates the Tao of Death. He will kill anyone who tries to obtain the painting. I cultivate the Tao of life. Therefore, when I saw you guys in trouble, I wanted to lend you a hand. Of course, I also have some selfish motives. That black-robed life immortal realm cultivator wants to kill me, and I also want to kill him. However, no one can kill the other. Little friend Ning, how about you help me kill him together with me? How can I help Senior kill a life immortal realm cultivator? May I ask Senior if there is a way to get out of this place? Ning Fan did not agree to the white-robed elderly man's request. Now, he just wanted to find a way to get out of this place. He did not want to become the enemy of a life immortal realm cultivator. He secretly activated the profound Yin world and found out that it could still be used. When he secretly activated the Yuan Yao world, he realized that it could not be used. As for the snow-capped mountain far away, it began to turn black bit by bit. The moment the darkness appeared, Ning Fan's heart was filled with a sense of crisis. Inwardly, he guessed that what the elderly man said about not being able to get out of this place was probably true. It was probably true that a black-robed life immortal realm cultivator would come to this place to kill them a few hours later. Even if he returns to where he came from, he probably would not be able to find the entrance that he came from. If the black-robed life immortal realm cultivator comes to attack him, he could hide in his Kiliacosm treasure. However, Hong Yi and the little demoness had nowhere to hide. It would be difficult for them to escape death. Moreover, the Kiliacosm treasure also had a time limit. Ning Fan could only stay inside for a month. After 1 month, he would get out of the profound Yin world, and he would still be attacked by the black-robed life immortal realm cultivator. Ning Fan just wanted to find a way to get out of this place and bring the two ladies away from here. He did not want to see the scene in the illusion happen again and watch the two ladies die in front of him. A way to get out of this place, huh? There is. As long as you kill either me or that black-robed life immortal realm cultivator, you will have a chance to get out of this place. Otherwise, you will be sealed in this painting forever. What? Ning Fan's eyes turned grim. Could it be that I have to kill a life immortal realm cultivator in order to get out of this place? The white-robed old man's gaze swept across the crowd. Then he looked at the little demoness and said with a sigh, "If this little girl's cultivation base is at its peak, she might be able to lend me a hand. What a pity. Little friend, lend me your devil's sealing pouch for a while. I know what you're worried about. Don't worry. I don't have any evil intentions towards you people. What I want is just to be free from this place. You guys just need to watch from the side." The white-robed old man made a grabbing motion towards the devil's sealing pouch on Ning Fan's waist. Immediately, hundreds of orchid petals flew out from his body. With just a suction force, the devil's sealing pouch flew into his hand. Ning Fan's eyes widened. He remembered that he had read about this kind of ability from the shedding orchid sex introduction. It was called the orchid seizing technique. It was a type of ability that allowed one to seize magic treasures from others. Could this person be a member of the shedding orchid sect? Little friend Ning, please don't be angry. I can swear on my great heart devil oath that I have absolutely no hostility towards you people. What I want is just to kill that black-robed life immortal realm cultivator and then be free from this place. I won't lend you the devil's sealing pouch for a while for free. You haven't completely subdued the thing inside, right? How about I help you subdue it completely? Little friend, lend me a trace of your spirit sense. As soon as he finished speaking, the white-robed old man really swore on his great heart devil oath, expressing that he would not have the intention to harm anyone at the scene. Ning Fan frowned. The way to leave this place was to kill a life immortal realm cultivator. Either the black-robed old man or the white-robed old man must die in order to escape. The white-robed old man had already borrowed the rogue devil. He probably wanted to use the rogue devil's power to suppress the black-robed old man and kill him. The rogue devil had already fallen into the white-robed old man's hands, and he had also sworn not to harm anyone here. The only thing Ning Fan could do now was to trust this white-robed life immortal realm cultivator and lend him the rogue devil to help him kill the black-robed life immortal realm cultivator. Is there a need to give this person a trace of spirit sense? Ning Fan forced out a trace of spirit sense from his sea of consciousness and passed it to the white-robed old man. With the white-robed old man's strength, there was no need for him to plot against Ning Fan. Taking this trace of spirit sense was probably really to help him subdue the rogue devil. The white-robed old man received Ning Fan's trace of spirit sense and said to Ning Fan with a smile, "Little friend and I are fated, but you don't know about it. You possess the token of the Lan Ling sect master, the 1,000 mountains of orchid snow painting. Besides that, you have also learned the secret technique of my shedding orchid sect, the mutual death technique. For the sake of this fate, why would I harm you? Vile creature, come out." The white-robed old man suddenly opened the devil sealing pouch. A trace of devil chi immediately rushed out from the pouch and turned into a gigantic devil creature. It raised its head and laughed heartily. "Ha! You are finally going to use me for the 3rd time. Hurry up and use it. After using it, the puppet strings will be broken and I will be reborn." The little demoness did not find it strange that Ning Fan had a rogue devil. After spending some time with Ning Fan, she seemed to have already noticed it. Hong Yi's blood-red eyes, however, were filled with shock. She never expected that Ning Fan would bring a rogue devil with him. He Shirxiu, Gong Yangzi, Xianhua and Yun Yomu were all shocked. A rogue devil? Ning Fan actually brought a rogue devil with him. Loose devils were the pinnacle experts of the devil realm. There were only 5 of them in the entire devil realm. Ning Fan actually has a rogue devil expert with him. Where did this rogue devil come from? Was it the devil world's scattered devil ancestor, or a powerhouse of the devil path from the upper realm? "Ha, I am finally going to be free. Ha!" The scattered devil was really excited. What he was most afraid of was that Ning Fan would never use him for the 3rd time and that the puppet thread would never break. He had been waiting for Ning Fan's order him again. After that, he would be free, and Ning Fan's would never put him into the evil sealing pouch again. His arrogant eyes swept the surroundings, and when he saw the strange scenery, he was stunned at first. His gaze swept across Ning Fan, the little demoness, Hong Yi, Shirxiu, and the others. Finally, his gaze fell on the white-robed life immortal realm expert. The white-robed life immortal held a demon sealing pouch in his hand. It was the white-robed life immortal who released him. In an instant, the loose devil's smile froze on his face. "Fate immortal, why is there a fate immortal here? Speaking of which, what the hell is this place? Smelly old man, who are you? What do you want to do to me?" "What do I want to do? I want to do little friend Ning a favor by subduing you and slightly borrowing your power. Sit down." The white-robed life immortal realm expert's eyes suddenly turned sharp. Countless shadows of orchids appeared in the sky. He pointed a finger and a ray of blue light accompanied by Ning Fan's spirit sense went into the scattered devil's head. The scattered devil let out a miserable shriek. He held his head and rolled violently on the ground as if he was in extreme pain. This was a secret technique of the shedding orchid sect. It could forcefully plant a mental seal on a cultivator whose cultivation base was weaker than the user. However, using this technique required a special physique. Not everyone could learn this technique. Gradually, the scattered devil's pain began to weaken and he no longer struggled. However, his eyes were filled with discomfort as if he had just swallowed a fly. God damn it! God damn it! His sea of consciousness was actually planted with a mental seal. Moreover, it was planted with Ning Fan's spirit sense. He had actually become Ning Fan's true devil slave. Even if the puppet thread is broken, he would not be able to escape from Ning Fan's control anymore. Ah! He no longer had the chance to carry out the beautiful escape plan that he had been looking forward to. "I'm really unlucky. I grew up in the demon sealing pouch and have never roamed freely in the outside world. I was born to be a demon slave for others. Damned heavens, they can't do this to me." Ning Fan's eyes flashed with surprise and joy. He tried activating his divine telekinesis and found that he could really control the rogue devil with his divine telekinesis and control its life and death. The problem of the scattered devil, which had always been a headache for him, was easily solved by the life immortal senior in front of him. From the looks of it, borrowing the life immortal to use the scattered demon was not a loss, but a gain. If what the life immortal said was true and they could defeat the black-robed life immortal with the help of the rogue devil, they would be able to escape. If the white-robed life immortal had evil intentions, it would be really dangerous this time. Husband, this person can be trusted. I think I know who he is. When he was alive, he was so proud that he didn't even submit to the heavenly Tao. What he disdained the most was lying to others and playing tricks. If he says he's not hostile towards us, then he definitely isn't. The little demoness revealed a thoughtful expression and transmitted her voice to Ning Fan. Then, he told Ning Fan about the identity of the white-robed life immortal. It's him. He's not a living person. Ning Fan's eyes turned serious. He didn't seek immortality and didn't seek immortality. He dared to sacrifice the heavens for the Tao. So it's him. Chapter 667. Ning Fan looked at the white-robed life immortal in silence. He didn't expect this life immortal in white to be the legendary forefather Shilon. According to the little demon girl, this person was obsessed with giving up, so he became an immortal. However, the possession of the primordial fisherman's cowhide painting ultimately led to the destruction of the Shedding Orchid sect. The 4 ancient maps were not something a sect with a life immortal could possess. Ancestor Shilon was supposed to be dead. Who would have thought that he would appear in the immemorial fisherman's Mino? Ning Fan carefully observed old ancestor Shilon and realized that he was not a living person. There was no sign of life in him. Just like the surrounding world of ice and snow, it was as if it was drawn out. Before I died, I drew my remnant will into the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting because I still have an unfulfilled wish that needs to be resolved before I can die in peace. Old ancestor Shilon smiled at Ning Fan. When Ning Fan's expression changed slightly, he knew that Ning Fan had guessed his identity. Who is that black-robed life immortal realm cultivator? Why is Senior so insistent on killing him? Also, why does he want to kill Senior? Ning Fan asked. He was the cultivator who came to steal the map back then. He has the lives of thousands of Shilan's disciples on his hands. He was trapped in the immemorial fisherman's Mino picture and died with hatred, but his demonic thoughts remained in the picture. He is proficient in a secret technique of the Devil Tao. If his devil sense doesn't disperse, all the cultivators he has killed in this life will never be able to enter samsara again. They will live in the sea of bitterness forever, losing their true path forever. Shilon forefather took a deep breath and said with sharp eyes, "Therefore I must kill this strand of demonic thought of his. With the help of little friend's loose devil, it won't be hard for me to kill him." The Shilon ancestor's eyes were filled with a crazy obsession. He must bring back the fallen disciples of the Shilon ancestor. His words were only directed at Ning Fan, the little demoness and Hong Yi. Shirshio and the others could not hear him at all. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold, but he did not say anything. He could not help but admire Ancestor Shilon in his heart. Ancestor Shilan's remnant consciousness was not extinguished, just to let his disciples reincarnate. He swore to destroy the evil consciousness in the immemorial fisherman's Mino painting. There weren't many people like him in the cultivation world. Little friend, this old man and you are fated. I would like to make a deal with you. How about it? What kind of deal? Ning Fan frowned. This old man still has 8 million myriad Tao crystals. I want to get a promise from my little friend's mouth, and let my little friend do something. As long as little friend promises this matter, this old man will definitely give this Tao crystal to you. As soon as he finished speaking, old ancestor Shilon carefully observed every expression on Ning Fan's face. He realized that even though Ning Fan's expression changed slightly when he heard about the 8 million Tao crystals, there was no hint of greed in his eyes. He also did not agree to his request immediately. Instead, he wore a thoughtful look on his face. 8 million Tao crystals are almost enough for this young man to cultivate to the middle and upper level of the 3rd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The temptation is certainly huge. However, this child has no greed in his eyes. It seems that he is a person who does not make promises lightly. Since he does not make promises lightly, he will not break his promise. It seems that I have found the right person. Old ancestor Shi Lan did not disturb Ning Fan's thoughts and waited quietly. Hong Yi and the little seductress, who were standing at the side, looked slightly surprised. 8 million Dao crystals was not a small amount. What kind of promise does this old ancestor Shi Lan want Ning Fan to give? Ning Fan pondered for a while. Then he raised his head and looked at old ancestor Shi Lan with a serious expression. Senior, what request do you have? Why don't you tell me first? If it's within my capabilities, I will certainly give you a promise. If it's not something that I can do, I won't agree to it with empty promises. Hee. That's how it should be. I want little friend to kill a person. This person is the main person who destroyed my Shilan sect. He used his power to bully others and oppress Shilan. Who is he? What's his cultivation base? The sect master of the Dao Yi sect in the Western Heaven Immortal world. He was a true immortal at the Crossing Truth realm in the past. If he is still alive, he might already be Shi Kong or perhaps old ancestor Shi Lan sighed. This sect master of the Dao Yi sect was just too strong. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. This kind of earth-shattering figure is not someone that I can defeat. I can't give you this promise. Little friend, you don't have to reject me so quickly. I'm not asking you to kill this person right now. If one day your cultivation base is strong enough and you're confident that you can kill this person easily, you can kill him then. If it's impossible, I won't have any regrets in this life as long as little friend has tried your best. I'll kill this person when my cultivation base is strong enough? Ning Fan pondered for a long time and finally nodded. All right. I'll agree to this. If one day I have the ability to kill this person, I will certainly go to the Dao Yi sect and kill him. Hee. I believe you. Take these Dao crystals. When I kill the black-robed devil sense, it will be the time when my remnant will perish. I'm afraid I won't have the chance to give you these Dao crystals anymore. Old ancestor Shi Lan raised his palm and waved. A storage pouch appeared on his palm out of nowhere and he gave it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan kept the storage pouch without saying anything. Everyone was speechless for a while and waited quietly. The rogue devil lowered his head dejectedly and listened to old ancestor Shi Lan's words. He did not dare to refute. When old ancestor Shi Lan heard that the rogue devil did not have a name, he immediately gave it a name. I used to raise a spirit dog. His name is Big Head. From today onwards, you shall be called Big Head. Fuck. Big Head. What the hell is this name? I don't want this name. The rogue devil expressed his strong objection. I've made up my mind. You can't have any dissatisfaction. Yes. The rogue devil revealed a bitter expression. He was a dignified rogue devil. He could be considered as a peak expert in the mortal world. However, his name was actually Big Head. If others find out about this, he would lose all his face. He wanted to resist old ancestor Shi Lan, but he did not dare to do so. He could only pray that Ning Fan did not hear this name and would not call him that in the future. When he turned his head to look at Ning Fan, he saw him holding his chin and muttering to himself with a serious expression. After a long time, he suddenly smiled and said, Big Head, huh? That's really a good name. It's much better than the name Little Black that I gave my little Sable. I'm not good at giving names. So, I'll just call him Big Head. The rogue devil was instantly dumbfounded. Putting aside the fact that he was planted with a mental seal, he actually called him Big Head. Today was really the most miserable day of his life. Time flashed. 6 hours had passed. At this moment, the white snow between heaven and earth had all turned black. From afar, a black figure was flying towards them at full speed in the vast sky. His figure flashed in the sky again and again. Each time he flashed, he would travel a distance of millions of li. Not long after, he appeared above everyone's heads. The aura force of a life-immortal realm expert pressed down crazily and he laughed without restraint. Shi Lan, I'm here again. Today I must kill you. There's still a group of kids here. Good. Very good. Since that's the case, let's kill all of them. This person had an ugly appearance and an unusually short figure. His eyes were filled with evil chi. His gaze swept across Ning Fan and the others with disdain. However, when his gaze swept past the rogue devil, his eyes suddenly turned grim. Rogue devil? I didn't expect you to actually have a helper. Do you think you can defeat me with the help of a rogue devil? He locked his killing intent on the rogue devil. The rogue devil was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He no longer had his usual arrogant expression. How could he dare to be arrogant in front of a life immortal? He Shirshio, Gong Yangzi, Xianhua and Yun Yomu's expressions changed. All of them hid behind Ning Fan and the others, afraid that they would get involved in the battle between life immortals. Netherflame, there's no need for you to talk nonsense. Just fight. Big head, fight with this old man. Shi Lan Ancestor's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He leaped into the sky and pointed at the black-robed life immortal without a word. The scattered demon gritted his teeth, not daring to disobey Ancestor Shi Lan's order. He braced himself and rushed toward the black-robed life immortal, throwing a punch. The black-robed life immortal's eyes darkened. He changed his hand sign and the black flames around his body turned into two streams of flames that swept towards Ancestor Shi Lan and the scattered demon respectively. Black fire and the orchid finger collided, but it was slightly at a disadvantage. After all, the power was divided. The black flames collided with the scattered devil's fist light, but it directly burned the scattered devil's fist light into nothingness. The remnant flames swept towards the scattered devil. The scattered devil was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He was about to be incinerated by the black flames. Just as he was in despair, he suddenly saw the remaining black flames disappear without a trace. When he lowered his head to take a look, he found that it had been taken away by Ning Fan who was below him. All of a sudden, the scattered devil's expression became extremely complicated. He was actually saved by Ning Fan once again. Humph! How dare a mere second destruction realm junior meddle in my business? After this, I will certainly tear you into a million pieces. The black-robed life immortal's face was filled with rage, but he was secretly shocked. He thought to himself, this second destruction realm junior's methods are really heaven-defying. Even though his black flames are not immortal flames, they are still very powerful. Ning Fan's face turned slightly pale after he used the power of the steel of sun and moon to keep the black flames. The black flames were not as powerful as immortal flames, but they were not much weaker. Even though he forcefully kept the black flames with the steel of sun and moon, it still caused Ning Fan significant injuries. However, Ning Fan had no other choice. At this moment, it was impossible for him to watch the scattered demon die. He was a powerful fighter and a great help in killing the black-robed life immortal. Old Ancestor Shi Lan gave Ning Fan a surprised look. Then he burst into laughter. Netherflame, it seems like your devil sense is really going to end today. Immortal technique, renounce heaven. Old Ancestor Shi Lan displayed his ability. The entire heaven and earth began to slowly disappear as if he had abandoned everything. Traces of orchid shadows drifted around the black-robed life immortal's body. In just an instant, the black-robed life immortal's body began to slowly disappear, as if he had also been abandoned by old Ancestor Shi Lan. Immortal technique, Nether Devour. The black-robed life immortal's eyes turned extremely solemn. He activated all of the magic power in his body. Traces of dark red nether flame rose around his body and burned the orchid shadows one by one. At the moment when the orchid shadows disappeared, the vanished heaven and earth reappeared. After withstanding old Ancestor Shi Lan's attack with great difficulty and not getting injured by the renounce heaven technique, the black-robed life immortal felt a sharp pain on his back. The scattered demon had taken the opportunity to sneak up on him and landed hundreds of punches on his back. Each of his punches was enough to shake heaven and earth. Each of his punches could destroy a mid-grade cultivation country. The black-robed life immortal was just a body of devil sense after all. How could the toughness of his body compare to the scattered demon? After receiving hundreds of punches, the black-robed life immortal immediately coughed out a few mouthfuls of black blood. He had already suffered some injuries. His eyes were burning with anger. A mere scattered demon dares to sneak up on me. I'm going to kill you. His body swayed and disappeared without a trace. At the next moment, he directly appeared in front of the scattered demon and slammed his palm down. A 50,000 zhang large nether flame palm imprint immediately landed on the scattered demon's head, giving him a feeling that he was going to die. This time, old ancestor Shilan had already appeared beside the scattered demon without Ning Fan's help. He made a hand seal and countless orchid shadows formed a gigantic orchid shield in front of the scattered demon, blocking all the incoming palm imprint. The huge shockwaves from the collision nearly overturned heaven and earth. Old ancestor Shilan then raised his hand and a sword made of orchid shadows appeared in his hand. Dao weapon! Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He could recognize that this orchid sword was a Dao weapon. It was very similar to his memory-severing Dao sword. Without saying a word, old ancestor Shilan slashed hundreds of times at the black-robed life immortal. Each of his sword strikes was accompanied by an orchid shadow. Even though the black-robed life immortal was able to neutralize all of the sword light, his magic power would be greatly reduced every time he blocked a sword strike. The black-robed life immortal's face was ashen. He realized that this Dao soldier's divine ability was a bit strange and not easy to deal with. With a wave of his hand, the dark red flames condensed into a large axe. This was also a Dao weapon. The axe and the sword clashed against each other. The black-robed life immortal and ancestor Shilan could not hurt each other. Just as the battle reached its climax, the black-clothed life immortal suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back as he suffered hundreds of punches. He was ambushed by a loose devil again. "You're courting death." The black-robed life immortal was enraged. He glared at the scattered demon. While he was distracted, ancestor Shilan leaped forward and slashed at the neck of the black-robed life immortal. The black-robed life immortal's head was cut off by the sword and flew high into the sky. Another strike destroyed the life immortals Dantian and Yuan Shen. "We won. Senior white-clothed one. We can break free." He Shirshio was overjoyed. Ning Fan, on the other hand, knitted his brows tightly. The sense of danger in his heart gradually increased. No, he didn't win. The black-robed life immortal was still alive. Suddenly, a second primordial spirit flew out from the black-robed life immortal's head. This person cultivated a second primordial spirit technique. The strength of this second primordial spirit was weaker than his first primordial spirit. He knew that he had no chance of winning even if he continued to fight. His eyes were filled with anger. He glared at the loose devil, Ning Fan, and everyone else at the scene. "Shilan, my devil sense is going to dissipate soon. However, before I die, I'm going to teach you a painful lesson. I'm going to stir up the heaven and earth of this place and bury all of you here." Immortal technique, devil grieves the world. The black-robed life immortal burst into laughter as if he had gone mad. His second primordial spirit suddenly self-destructed. His devil blood turned into black mist and instantly sealed the entire space in the fish map. At the next moment, countless dark red fiery rain fell from the sky. Everything that was burned by the fiery rain immediately melted into water and mist. "Little friend, remember your promise to me." Sacrifice technique. Old ancestor Shilan glanced at Ning Fan for the last time and smiled with relief. Then he resolutely soared into the sky and self-destructed his body, turning into countless shadows of orchids to resist the fiery rain. Ning Fan sighed softly and watched old ancestor Shilan's remnant will disappear. However, his eyes were filled with astonishment at the next moment. The entire fish map suddenly shook violently. Life and death intertwined with each other. Black and white intertwined. The orchids and the fiery rain canceled each other out. However, the trembling of the ground became more and more intense. Countless Dao force of life and death swept towards Ning Fan and the others. Everyone including Ning Fan coughed out blood and suffered serious injuries when the extremely powerful Dao force of life and death rushed towards them. The world in this place underwent a drastic change because of the battle between the two life immortal realm experts. This drastic change was probably out of old ancestor Shilan's expectation. Suddenly, The orchids flickered on the ground and a black crack was torn open. Countless snowy mountains fell from the sky. Ning Fan took a deep look at the crack on the ground and then looked at the collapsing world. He gritted his teeth and raised his hand to keep the loose devil. Then he grabbed Hong Yi and little Demoness and leaped into the crack. He did not know where the crack was. However, since the orchids were flickering, it was most likely the path of survival that old ancestor Shilan had pointed out to him. Perhaps only by leaping into the crack could he avoid this calamity of life and death. He Shirshio and the others were not as decisive as Ning Fan. They did not know where the crack on the ground led to. Thus, they did not dare to jump into it recklessly. Each of them activated their magic techniques to shatter the snowy mountains above their heads. The snowy mountains could defend themselves, but the Tao force of life and death that filled heaven and earth was difficult to defend against. Gradually, they also realized that it would be difficult for them to escape death if they continue to resist the Tao force of life and death. Only by jumping into the crack on the ground would they have a chance of survival. When they wanted to jump into the crack, it was already too late. The crack had already closed up. Not good. My life is over. He Shirshio's face turned pale with fright. All of a sudden, he was pressed down by a mountain that was half black and half white. The moment he was pressed down by the mountain, his body was corroded by the Tao force of life and death. His physical body slowly decayed. However, Gong Yangzi and Xianhuo were not as lucky. Both of them were directly torn into pieces by the Tao force of life and death. Their Tao experience was completely useless. Yun Yomu's face was filled with despair. He was poisoned by the Tao poison. Originally, he still had 1,000 years of life left. If he dies here, wouldn't he lose even 1,000 years of life? A loud bang resounded. A snowy mountain that was half black and half white fell from the sky, crushing Yun Yomu beneath it. Yun Yomu's physical body also began to decay slowly. He desperately activated the chi of life and death to slightly suppress the decay. However, it was impossible for him to escape from the bottom of the mountain. The mountain was too heavy and it contained boundless Tao force. Am I going to be trapped here until the Tao poison takes effect and I die? Yun Yomu said in despair. In a quiet stone chamber, Ning Fan slowly regained consciousness. Beside him, Hong Yi and the little demon girl were unconscious and on the verge of death. The two of them seemed to have been injured especially badly by the Tao force of life and death. It was a little strange. Little Demoness' comprehension of the Tao of life and death far surpassed his, while Hong Yi's comprehension of the Tao of life and death was not any weaker than his. Even though he was also injured, it was not serious. However, the two of them were severely injured and on the verge of death. Ning Fan was stunned. When he recalled the previous scene, he seemed to have understood something. He remembered that when the Tao force of life and death attacked him, the two of them seemed to have moved closer to him intentionally or unintentionally. Did they secretly help him block the damage from the Tao force of life and death? Ning Fan's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He looked at the stone chamber and saw that there was an ice bed inside. Then, he carried the two of them onto the ice bed. After thinking for a while, he rummaged through little Demoness' storage pouch and took out 2 half-completed 8th Revolution healing pills and fed them to the two of them. Those pills seemed to be the ones used to treat Mei Chen's injuries. Ning Fan did not have this kind of high-grade healing pill with him. Thus, he could only borrow little Demoness pills. He only took 2 pills and did not look through the other items in little Demoness' storage pouch. However, with just a quick glance, he realized that the wealth in little Demoness' storage pouch was probably comparable to the total wealth of the entire 3 Middle Realms combined. Little Demoness is really a rich young lady. After helping the two of them consume the pills, their complexions gradually recovered. However, he did not know how long it would take for them to regain consciousness. Anyway, their lives were no longer in danger. Ning Fan consumed a 7th Revolution healing pill and slowly healed his injuries. After his injuries were healed, he stood up and began to examine the stone chamber. This place seemed to be an art room. There were many paintings hanging on the walls. There was still a faint fragrance of ink in the room. On the table at the corner of the wall, there was a painting brush and paper. The stone chamber seemed to be an enclosed space with no exit. There was a great divine ability in the wall. Ning Fan tried using his wind mist finger but couldn't leave a mark on the wall, let alone destroying the wall and leaving this place. This place seemed to be the abode of a powerful cultivator. Ning Fan looked at all the items in the room and didn't find anything special. The only special thing was the paintings on the wall. All of them were landscape paintings, and there were 7 of them. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out a scroll of portrait painting. It was the painting he got from Lu Daochen. It was drawn by an immortal painting for Lu Wu. Chang Shang's painting and Lu Wu's portrait weren't drawn by the same person, but they both had a certain charm in them, as if they could turn illusion into reality. Is this the divine ability of a true immortal? It can turn a painting into reality. Ning Fan pondered for a moment and kept the 7 paintings on the wall into his storage pouch. After taking away the 7 paintings, he discovered that there was a groove hidden behind each of the 7 paintings. In each groove, there was a crystal that was half black and half white. The crystal was filled with extremely powerful Tao power of life and death. Ning Fan couldn't help but think of the time crystal on the 8th floor of the Lost World Tower. These 7 crystals might be the life and death crystal. The time crystal in the Lost World Tower in the lower world was prepared for the cultivators of the lower world. The energy it contained was far less than the life and death crystal in front of him. Ning Fan stared at the 7 crystals blankly. All of a sudden, the 7 crystals turned into rays of light and flew into Ning Fan's body, staying inside his dantian. There was also a voice that resounded in Ning Fan's mind. The people of the later generations who can enter the fish painting chamber are considered to be fated with me. After refining all 7 crystals, you can leave the stone chamber. This is a great opportunity. Don't underestimate it. Ning Fan was slightly stunned. He wanted to take out the crystals from his dantian, but he couldn't do it at all. He sat cross-legged on the ground and tried to refine the crystals. However, he realized that his current cultivation realm was almost insufficient to do so. In order to refine the crystals, he must first improve his cultivation realm. If he doesn't refine the crystals, he would never be able to leave the stone chamber. After absorbing the power of the green yang, he could stay in the profound Yin world for around 3 months. Even if he borrows the power of the profound Yin world, he had no idea how many years he would need to spend to improve his cultivation realm. It was not something that could be achieved in a short period of time. I didn't expect to encounter such an unforeseen event during this trip. Ning Fan's gaze fell on Hong Yi and the little demoness. He continued. Fortunately, they are fine. I don't want to see that kind of illusion again. Since there's no other way to get out of here, I'll just improve my cultivation realm here. The ancient divine incense, dragon soul, dragon pearl and Tao crystal. It's time for me to refine all of these things. Ning Fan's body flashed and entered the profound Yin world. On top of the thatched cottage, Luo Yu had already refined half of the power of the demon divine pill and recovered her cultivation base to the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Ning Fan found a secluded place on the desolate continent and opened up a temporary abode. He took out a large number of Tao crystals and placed them inside the abode. However, he was not in a hurry to refine these Tao crystals. He took out a furnace outside the abode and placed the ancient golden sword inside the furnace along with the profound yellow crystals. He did not know how many years he would have to cultivate in this place. He could increase the speed of the ancient golden sword while he was at it. I'll let the ancient sword devour the profound yellow crystals on its own. Ning Fan did not have the time to care about it. He entered the temporary abode and sat down with his legs crossed. Then he waved his hand and took some Tao crystals and began to slowly refine them. There were a total of 1 million Tao crystals in the abode. If he refines all of them, his cultivation realm would receive a terrifying increase. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.